Ah. What's going on, everybody? Gabriel Carbro here. And today we're going over Freud, some of those Freudisms, TikTok. Freud is an interesting character because even though he seems, like a rigid doctor, um, mind engineer, he's actually has a bit of a artistic side to him, meaning a right brain thinker. And I think he's definitely a person that myself, Ben, and others might enjoy um, getting into and unpacking some of his thoughts. What's going on, Paula? Good to see you. Hi, Austin Murphy. I see you. Markella, thank you for coming. Shadow Buddha in the building. Support the channel. Buy me a coffee. Yeah, always nice. It's been a minute since we got buy me a coffee. Everyone, hope you're well, Markella. Everyone is well. Let's get into this Freud. A lot of this is going to be listening and adding on to some of these podcasts from Michael Tessarion, a legendary researcher, expert on Freud. I think Freud is very important because he reminds us to, instead of blaming folks for our issues or whatnot, the best is to go inward and look at your own life and how you affect your own life. Pushing forward for sure. Still pushing forward. You're okay. Okay. Looking good though. Keep on pushing. So let's get into some of this Freud stuff. I think you'll enjoy it. Fucking badass. High powered shit.
For psychoanalysis, so that must be said. Now, this doesn't mean in time maybe it was not being Jewish. He was this huge, broad-shouldered, Aryan-looking Gentile guy, who was not German but Swiss. Sure. And so something about his masculinity or whatever, he just went a little bit better down as a poster child for psychoanalysis. So that must be said. Now, this doesn't mean that his teachings really were any more loved at the end of the day. We can't say that Americans just went, oh, we're going to become all Jungians now. No, that didn't happen. No, the man that they went for, that America loved, was Edward Bernays. Now, he just happened to be a nephew of Freud, but there's very, very tentative connection.
Yeah, so Jung was doing his own work, Professor Dr. Carl Jung, his work on the archetypes and whatnot, but his mentor could be said to be Freud. It's one of his best mentors, right? Because these guys were looking into the mind, going inward instead of looking at outward things. Jung has gained a lot of popularity in the last 15 years, especially in New Age circles and whatnot. And I would say that, like Michael Tessarion was saying right now, Freud's nephew, Edward Bernays, who's basically the father of marketing. They called it public relations back in the day. Marketing and how one's desires and thoughts shape their purchasing power. That man definitely was accepted by America, in particular the business world. But Freud, not so much. Which I thought that a lot of the psychiatric organizations, U.S. ones, were actually promoted his work a lot, but I come to find out not really.
No, they liked him because he fit the pattern of saying psychoanalysis is nothing more. Its greatest benefit is getting the proles, getting the workers to be obedient servants of the rotten system. In other words, it's good for adjusting discontents and getting them back in line. America went, oh, you're hired. Madison Avenue went, oh, yeah, we're for that. That sells our cigarettes. It sells our soap. It sells our cosmetics. It sells our Folgers smile. You're inmate. We did a test. We saw that the public were coming out of the cinemas going, what the fuck was that all about? Give us Psycho. So Alfred Hitchcock did make Psycho, and the crowds were around the block. They loved it. and it started off a whole spate of Freddy movies and all this, right? And Friday the 13th. Yeah, they loved that. Made by the same director who made 5 of the greatest psychological films, and every one of them was a flop.
Yeah, Alfred Hitchcock. I was just watching I got in my algorithm Michael Myers, like young Michael Myers. I guess there was a TV show about that, how his origin story. That was fucking crazy. Yeah, so yeah, Edward Bernays, definitely. He wrote the book Propaganda, right? Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi high-ranking official, minister of propaganda. He was the originator of bringing that to the forefront, right? Totally manipulating people's minds.
I think America has spoken. So the Madison Avenue and the government knew immediately we're onto a good thing. The people don't want it, but they want this. They want to, act like sheep. They want to be sold a lie. And so we have no problem sweeping aside this German Swiss, German Austrian nonsense. We can easily replace it. It's a lot of palaver, but we'll have to have it covered. Let's have it covered for the intellectuals. So we'll bring in some of this French deconstructionist garbage at the top. We'll bring that in just in case the intellectuals still want to go for psychoanalysis. We'll bring in this analytical philosophy, and then as we move down towards the working class, we'll also have our replicas, we'll have our pop culture, we'll have our drug smoking, promotion of teenage rebellion and hippie ethic, whatever.
Yeah, that's true. Like through marketing, the social engineers will promote like rebellion and being different in order to push their products. When in fact, a lot of the people who, especially younger folks, who think they're a rebel, right? They think they're doing some crazy shit. They're just copying another person that they saw that was probably influenced by propaganda. And most likely propaganda to sell you some junk or whatever, or an ideology so you can be controlled. Right. Paula says with the Bernays, the addition of John Nash's game theory, the system fed off the combination. Let me see. John Nash, I heard about that. My friend Jeff talks about systems theory. What do I talk about though? I'm going to talk about game theory for a second. I'm going to jump around a little bit, but it's all related. Game theory, what is it? John Nash. Here we go. We just use this real quick.
Promises to give Matt $100 if he runs a mile in less than 7 minutes. In this case, everything depends on Matt. He can train until he consistently succeeds, and when he's ready, he can show Sarah and get his $100. Game theory doesn't study situations like this one. Instead, it studies situations involving more than one participant and in which not everything depends on one person. For example, in the game of chess, the other player's moves continuously influence your strategy. That would be one example of a situation studied by game theory, but don't make the mistake of assuming only actual games are studied. Game theory is also used to, for example, analyze situations in which multiple companies are competing against one another. Just like
it is a game, right?
A game of chess, the actions of one company are influenced by the actions of the other participants. For example, if a competitor lowers the price, the other companies might be forced to do the same.
Right.
As you can see, game theory basically analyzes the behavior of 2 or more participants in situations involving rewards or punishments. The rules of the so-called game are known by everyone, and it is assumed that all players are rational. Now, of course, game theory will never be able to predict human behavior with 100% accuracy. In one situation or another, you might very well do the exact opposite of what game theory suggests, but still, it offers some truly fascinating human behavior insight.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Competitive. Everyone's competitive, man. Especially companies. What company is going to sell you something to make you feel inadequate? It's like 2 games going right there. One with your peer group, how you can feel inadequate for not having something that everyone else has that's trending. The other one is like what company is going to sell you. That's another game. Who's going to win that? Who's going to win that game? You set the game to make the most people happy despite the few. Wow. Yeah. Democracy. Peer pressure. He said Tao. Did he say? I think Michael Tsarian just called somebody a towelhead. I think he's Indian, and Irish mix.
Smoking, promotion of teenage rebellion and hippie ethic, whatever. They've always got a million and one.
Drug smoking. I really do think that weed is really stifling people's ambition in life. It's cool, man. I mean, it's a weird thing that it can be a catalyst for some people, especially if you're locked in. You've never experienced it before, but or you haven't experienced the feeling of it in a long time. It can get you out your moment, but to constantly smoke weed is definitely a tool by the social engineers to keep you down.
Peace and love, philosophy.
But you're in the end, you're keeping yourself down because you can't blame them.
Bringing these towel heads from the East. What we got to ask, why did that all happen simultaneously? You have a great deep Western tradition coming out of Germany and Austria, and suddenly it's swept aside by a bunch of towel heads from the Ganges. All these first New Ager creatures came in, from India. Yeah, and the New Age starts up. Why? So I'm looking at all of this because I was part of the New Age movement back in the late 70s and 80s, and I started to see the pattern as I grew up and started to look at the hollowness of it. That this was made to order. This was this thing was stitched up at the back, this New Age stuff, it was a mannequin. It was horrible. Yeah. And they too were leaving out substance.
All that peace and love, right? No, it's not math and science, Shadow Buddha. All that peace and love of the New Age movement. There is some there, but you forget the things like how there are games going on. I'm using Paula and John Nash's vernacular. There are games going on constantly, and that's something that the New Age movement will on a surface level talk about. But however, shit, I just like Freud. I've been liking Freud's language at it. He's like blunt about what's really going on, and how you can really analyze someone's behavior or actions that they do, or tells of some problem that's going on in their psyche.
They were leaving out things of great substance, which was thrown to the wayside. You and I have talked about the teachings of Krishnamurti. Again, why is that not getting traction? So again, things.
See you later.
I started to ask questions and went in search of the answers.
Much love.
That a lot of what's being sold to them, sold to Western man by the East, is nothing but a bunch of womb metaphors, things like that.
Yeah.
Womb metaphors. That's something that a lot of this work, it's talking about womb. All these things, like I didn't even say psychedelics. Going back to the womb, meaning like when someone took care. That's pre 1 to 7 years old in child development. 1 to 7 when your personality gets its foundation, how you view the world, how you feel safe in the world, right? How you want to explore the world gets the foundation. But before that was the womb, right? Where everything was taken care of. Your parents, your mother, your father, they took care of you, all your needs, right? Mainly your mom, but like dad, hopefully like built the house so you can provide and feed your mom, but keep her safe, you and her safe. But like the womb, everyone wants to go back to the womb. That's why we give our power to the big brother, aka the presidents and whatnot, or dictators, whatever you want to call it. Because that's like womb. That's the womb. That's safety. You don't have to think about your problems as much. This theme of the womb is going to keep coming back. The group dynamics. I think Freud was cool because he was an existentialist. I was talking to Ben about that yesterday. Existentialism knowing that, thinking about how you exist, not just taking it for granted. Now, we don't want to dwell on that all the time, but overly dwell on it. But that's something that's real. We exist here, and someday we're going to die, right? Quote unquote, die or pass on. Most people don't think about that. Most people are on this first perceptive way of looking at the world. They don't use their second perceptive of analyzing the world. It's just, they're chugging along, doing their thing, and now it is what it is, right? But some of us, once we get woken up to how there seems to be a core notion of there's other things going on besides the distractions of work and entertainment. We were shot into this world, right? Out of nowhere, seemingly. We have to figure it out. That's enough to make you very anxious. All right, that's enough to want you to go back into the womb, artificial or original.
And we'll come into that more in the article, I think, as it's evolving. This picture will come into much more details, especially Edward Bernays and his role in all of this. Yes, I think he wrote a book called Propaganda, didn't he? I think it was literally called Propaganda. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right.
I believe he's titled, he's known as the father of modern propaganda. So it's so apropos of what we've been discussing about, these architects of control and about how they use psychology.
Yeah. There's a great series of books by a guy called Vance Packard. The Hidden Persuaders was it was a bestseller. So here's another paradox. For a very, very short time in the 70s, right? This is just a couple of years. There was an interest among some American intellectuals with this idea of psychological control, a la Bernays. He's not the only one. Other people had written books on this kind of thing. And for a very, very short time, in fact, even a movie was made. It's called Agency with Robert Mitchum and Lee Majors. Very good film. And it's on subliminal advertising, of all things. A deep look, right? This is extraordinary. And there were one or two other little movies here and there. Nothing much. But it did creep into the zeitgeist by other decent people who, again, didn't want to let it down so quickly. And so they realized, look, let's try again through some of our series.
Hidden Persuaders is like a good book.
It didn't die completely.
On marketing
it was a heyday
and
in the 40s and 50s, but that didn't work. But then in the 70s, it kind of popped up its head again a little bit in a few shows, which I know about, and a couple of books, mostly by this guy, Vance Packard. And then, of course, it died away. These were spinner rack books, kind of good bestsellers at the time, but then it fell away. And from that point on, it never, ever got traction again, sadly. But you're quite right. The Edward Bernays thing was the one that was taken to heart by the American industrialists.
Yeah, you can see the documentary Century of the Self, which is really good. That talks a lot about Edward Bernays and his influence on our minds, American minds. It's Freud's nephew.
Control, what you would call, the industrial complex, the deep state. They started to say, hey, there is something here after all. Let's make sure we keep suppressing it to the public, but we want more of these books. Let's find out. And so that's how the conspiratorial aspect opened up in my life. I realized that psychology is very important in America, but not in the way that was healthy.
I understand. I will. Meaning
that it is very important to know about psychoanalysis and psychology and the psyche, because in a lot of ways, they say the deep state, maybe like NSA, CIA, those type of groups, they look into it and in order to see how they can manipulate and engineer. When I say social engineer, that's some of them. Engineer your mind to do things that they want you to do, but make you think that you're doing it, right? Interesting. Let's go back to this.
I'll call up a little bit more of the article and we'll go through that a little bit further. So this will be our next little segment. We have another quote by Bruno. It starts with, in his work and in his writings, Freud often spoke of the soul of its own nature and structure, its development, its attributes, how it reveals itself in all we do and dream. Unfortunately, nobody who reads him in English could guess this, because nearly all his many references to the soul and to matters pertaining to the soul have been excised in translation.
Damn, I didn't know that. Like when and in his work in writing, Freud often spoke of the soul, of his nature and structure, its development, its attributes, how it reveals itself in all that we do. That's very interesting because when I think of Jung, his student, like as the one that does that, talks about the soul and more of the imaginative aspects, of the psyche. So that's pretty crazy how that seems to be missed in translation on purpose. It sounds like, because that would have been really because I don't hear very many New Agers talk about Freud. I just hear them talk about Carl Jung, which is cool. Hey, what's up, Max? Good to see you, man. Today we're talking about Freud and TikTok. Freud, and this is very interesting how normally I wouldn't think Freud would be talking about the soul, right? Definitely, which makes sense though if you think about it. He's talking about dreams, something that you can't put your hand around, and you can't even put your hand around the mind. That's why it's so fascinating to talk about. Yeah. So that's, I think, even though Freud seemed like a technician and whatnot, he's still talking about something you can't put your hand around, the mind.
And so this is a little bit you wrote after. Bettelheim's excellent book reveals how the American Psychological Association, also known as the APA, deliberately and maliciously misinterpreted and subverted Freudianism. Bettelheim expressly tells readers that the only element of Freud's pratique that interested American medical organizations was that geared to making the public adjustable to government control.
Wow, so that's what they were, not necessarily Freud was trying to, it seems like he was trying to help people work through their angst and panic, but the governments were very interested in how they can adjust people's mind using his techniques.
In other words, if a treatment helped get the average discontent back in line, it was to be hastily adopted. The rest of it could be trashed. The Catholic Church agreed. They didn't care to have their priests put out of business by the advent of psychoanalysis. They wanted their confessionals crammed with sinners wrecked by despair and guilt. Consequently, as far as America was concerned, Freud was persona non grata. Bettelheim himself came under attack and was professionally assassinated for his well-meaning attempts to change America's mind about his mentor's pratique. So, any thoughts there, Michael, on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I think we've covered that. I mean, that was the way it was. And a whole era was changed. Now, you had your intellectuals, you had your wealthy Hollywood, some of the Hollywood actors, not just from Hollywood, also the East Coast, who had psychological problems. And they were open about it in their own personal lives. And they warmed to psychoanalysis. Some of their sons and daughters were seeing therapists, right? It was an in thing for a while. And of course, they're movie actors and directors. And they said, this is so important, we have to publicize it.
A better way to promote ideas is if the people using the techniques are actors and producers and whatnot in movies. You can put those in the movies. And I think Alfred Hitchcock was one of the main ones who put a lot of Freud's ideas in his movies and psychoanalysis.
And then in
dream symbols.
Another article on my Dragon Mother site, I list, there's an article there called Science of Vertigo. And in that, I list all the different movies I could remember that did have those themes. I didn't do it in this article, but there's another. And they said, to hell with this, is great content. And America's going to rally. Come on, let's do it. And they went with gusto. Do you know that even Sean Connery, in one of his earliest films, agreed? He was in the middle.
That's crazy. Sean Connery, the man's man, agreed about psychoanalysis, the importance of it. Right? Even Mr. Macho, Sean Connery, alpha male, knows the benefit of living practicing a thoughtful mind, knowledge of self, trying to find out what the self is. Maybe there's nothing there, but at least try to find what's there.
Of the James Bond, series. And Alfred Hitchcock said, hey, we need a really big star to act in a movie about deep psychology? And he said yes. And he broke the model, and he came and was a protagonist in one of Hitchcock's greatest movies on psychology. Very, very, very controversial themes in the movie. And he said yes, but none of it worked. Nobody knew this. Nobody could predict. So this is not the Illuminati holding a gun to anybody's head. This is the individual themselves going, not for me. No, no, no. Give me some more dance scenes. Give me some more Fred Astaire, right? Give me some more Walt Disney. And they got it. And they reduced the psychology to horror. Being scared shitless, right? Chainsaw Massacre followed. You know, I think you get my point, right? Yeah. Sold out. No problem. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Psycho. Can't wait. Hand out the popcorn. No problems there. And basically the rest of the Western world followed suit. So
That's true because people rather see the slasher. Some psychopaths just kill people for no reason. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was a good movie for what it's worth. It shows the primal nature and psychopathic capability of a human and a family. However, like it didn't give you much insight into why they acted like that. That's happening now with a lot of these origin stories. Like I said, I was watching the some clips from the Michael Myers origin story, Halloween, where he was a kid and his mother was a stripper, maybe a prostitute, and like how he used to get bullied in school, and he you know, he literally has a psychiatrist in the prison psychiatric ward that's talking to him about like maybe trying to figure out why he does what he does. That's very Freudian. However, like Michael Myers didn't make his name. They didn't grab the bag. The producers off of psychoanalyzing analyzing Michael Myers' mind. They just made money off him killing people and stuff. So let's see.
this is what we're talking about. We're talking about a great tradition that was basically parked.
What's up, Lindsay?
And a massive campaign of disinformation.
How's it going?
Which is where Bruno Bettelheim and others come in. Also to follow, just in case anybody went back a little bit to sniff around, and got a little bit of interest. No, they'll be put off. We don't want any of that stuff. And they did and as far as I'm concerned, they did a great job.
Yeah, I'll continue on with a little bit of the reading here. In an interesting essay entitled Why Freud Hated America.
Maybe this is why Freud hated America. I mean, we're talking about the book, The Hidden Persuaders.
The author states that Freud...
About, how Edward Bernays, Freud's nephew, went to America and basically started the modern marketing technique that businesses use in order to push their products and whatnot. And this is a book that talks a lot about that, called The Hidden Persuaders. Let me see the summary real quick.
The Hidden Persuaders by Vance Packard exposes the covert tactics used by the advertising and marketing industries to influence consumer behavior. Packard reveals how these industries study the subconscious desires and fears of people to manipulate their choices, often without the consumer's awareness. The book delves into the use of psychological techniques, including depth psychology and motivational research, to create more compelling advertising strategies. It explores themes of manipulation and ethical boundaries in marketing.
Interesting to see. It would be cool to be a psychologist for one of these big companies.
Showing how advertisers craft campaigns that resonate with personal identities and emotions to drive sales.
Get that primal brain, that snake brain, right? Reptilian brain. Moved by your desires, not your frontal cortex of higher thought, critical thinking.
The book is a critical and thought-provoking examination of the control and power that advertisers hold over public consumption, making it a must-read for understanding the forces shaping consumer culture.
Interesting. Okay. And now, if you want to go even deeper into that, listen to the documentary "Century of the Self" about Edward Bernays, Sigmund Freud's nephew, who used his knowledge that he learned from his uncle and added on and overlaid it on top of businesses and how to get people to how to get people to buy their products and become a loyal cult member. Right? Think about all the people that used to love BMW back in the day, and they would never get a Mercedes because they just love, or Apple. They'll never get an Apple product. Right? That shit doesn't just happen.
Noted.
They'll be put off. We don't want any of that stuff. And they did and as far as I'm concerned, they did a great job.
Yeah, I'll continue on with a little bit of the reading here. In an interesting essay entitled Why Freud Hated America, the author states that Freud noted that during his only short visit to the United States, he was physically weaker than he had ever been in his life. After contracting his 10th symptom, he decided to return to Europe and never return. The theme of civilization and its discontents concerns the condition and fate of socialized humans, those calling themselves civilized. What does the term really allude to? Or more to the point, is civilized man any happier now than he was as a creature in the wild? Freud did not believe man was essentially happier in his urban environments. This is because in order to be civilized, one's basic instincts must be dramatically suppressed and denied. In other words, there's a great cost involved in being civilized. One isn't able to do as they please, not without serious consequences.
Do as thy will, right? You can't do what they want.
However, as Freud brilliantly elucidated, punishment for antisocial behavior isn't administered exclusively by external sources. Internally, civilized people hear a penalizing voice in the form of the superego, the part of us that judges our actions and relentlessly hectors us for the slightest infraction of socially imposed standards.
It could be the superego, which is expressed by your father, and your mother too, your parents, but particularly by your father. Try to keep you in line, right? So you're civilized and you're not uncivil, right? The superego always there. This is why we might be prone to want to be in groups, right? Like, why it's easier to be in these panel groups, and like people don't like this person and you can't like this person, and vice versa. And because it's easier to be in the group, aka the womb. This is a representation maybe of going, Freud might say, going back to the womb of comfort, right? Not being an individual. I think Freud really was for the individual. Definitely an existentialist, which means like concentrating on your own existence and what makes you different.
Although the superego develops continually through life, the first 7 years are crucial. By 7, the likes and dislikes of one's parents are well and truly introjected. Their
Man, that's like Ben. He's 7 right now. I see it.
Expectations, once internalized, become the permissive and prohibitive voices within our heads, conditioning our thinking and behavior. And so I think the main theme of that is how becoming civilized, and there's the downside that's involved in it as well also. What are your thoughts on what happens to people as they become civilized? Would people be happier if they were more in touch with nature or more primitive in how they used to live?
Yeah, this is
Do you think people would be more happy if they weren't civilized and could go freely without any filter to do what they want?
of course, the big question that even Freud spent his whole life asking, and his last book, Civilization and Its Discontents, was more of even a deeper meditation on it. He believed that you do need civilization, and I believe that too, right? I go along exactly with Freud's thinking. But at what cost? You see, now the theory does rest, you and I have talked about this before, that it's based on the idea that man is originally and essentially a beast. Okay, now this is where, everyone could then join the argument and go, no, I don't accept that.
That's that quote from the beginning of Fear and Loathing Las Vegas, the book and the movie. He who makes a beast of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man. Yeah. When you make a beast of yourself, you don't have any civilization in you. You don't have to worry about feeling guilty. That's another thing that the superego wants you to do, not feel guilty. Yeah. Wants you to feel guilty for not going with the crowd, not going back into the womb. Right? It seems like everyone's trying to go back into the womb. I don't blame you. There's a lot of things that are uncomfortable and make you anxious about this world.
But according to Freud, there's plenty of evidence, and I go through some of it in the article. Some of the behavior of teens, children, and our sort of terrible love of war would be, the most obvious. But there's plenty more. The football games, the wrestling, the boxing, these crazy news shows where people sit down.
Max says it works so well. In the past, if you were the pillager, yeah, you were the super ego telling people what to do. Nobody was checking you. Can't do that so much unless you're part of the government or whatever.
And start eating worms and eating cockroaches and all. Freud would look at a lot of that. He'd look at basically just what's out there phenomenologically and say, what is all of this? Isn't this like a back to the jungle type of mentality? He'd certainly look to the New Age, penchant for that. He'd look to this neo-primitivism. He'd find loads of evidence that man wants to regress back. See, now we have to add this on the side. Say you had a divided screen and you said, let's give some check marks on one side to Freud and some...
Man wants to regress back, right? Watching cartoons, anime, playing dodgeball for group get-togethers for companies. Peter Pan syndrome. Staying young, forever 14.
Is on the other side, where we can see things in society that go against the grain. But the trouble is, when you start doing that, it's all green on one side and hardly fuck all on the other side. Freud gets a lot of stuff start to mark on his side that you wouldn't first think of. And then this alters our kind of, way of looking at it. It becomes a lot harder. And on top of that, you get all the mistranslations and mutilations of his work to factor in as well. Once you start taking it all together. But to answer your question, you see, he says civilization's a necessary thing. We're glad to have it, but can it last? Yeah, under the crust of the civilization cap. What happens if it's turning to pus? If we lift up the hood every now and again to check, is it strong?
Will it last, civilization? That's all we've known, but we've read stories in the past how there wasn't much civilization. Do you think, chat and commenters watching this in the rewind, that this society, this will last the way it is? Or will we go to a Mad Max apocalyptic, every man and woman for him or herself way of being? Or even worse than that, a real beast? Some men want a Algerian society, nothing else, no industry. Yeah, that's true. That's still some type of civilization, huh? Right there. I think of no civilization. I just think of like anarchy, and madness, and violence.
And we keep finding out that the wires are melting, and things are turning liquid, liquefying in the engine room. No, or we're running out of fuel, or something's going. He was kept awake at night thinking, "Is this thing going to last? What can we do?"
What up, Joe? What up, Pimpin'? What up,
not a discontent. He himself is not a malcontent. He's in favor of civilization, but he's down there in his overalls, checking the cracks in the hull. Right? He's looking for the fissure. He's looking for the time bomb, and he's going, "Can anybody hear something ticking?" And everybody goes, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I can hear something ticking. I can sense that something's wrong here."
Something's wrong, huh?
But he was influenced by Schopenhauer. He was influenced by Spengler.
Schopenhauer, the will to survive, the will to live, right? That's what Schopenhauer was talking about. Everything has a will to live that's alive. Even a rock, probably. Right? Then Nietzsche added to that in his own way. Everyone has a will not only to live, but also they have a will to get power. The will to power. Yeah. Oh, you're just eating dinner? Okay. What are you eating? Hope it's good. Probably good. You're probably a great cook. You have good taste, Markella. Max says if you read the Vedas, we will probably destroy ourselves. Right. With those technologies, those spaceships and nuclear war and all that stuff. Huh. Yeah, man. I thought that was going to happen last week. I didn't think it was going to happen, but it was definitely in the consciousness about Iran, America. Trump is going to attack. Right. So, yeah. Oh, we got 15 minutes now till the top of the hour. I'm going to put this on. This is fun. We're reviewing Freud, man. Freud and his influence and how he actually has been somewhat of a conspiracy to repress his ideas. Because I think more people got on that tip and started analyzing themselves. And they wouldn't necessarily blame outside world so much. Don't get me wrong, the outside world does contribute to a lot of problems, but the more each one of us looks into our own lives and see where the genesis or the origin is to some of those neurotic behaviors we do, they give us anxiety. We probably would clean up our act and have a little bit more peace. So yeah, there's hit the link, everybody. Okay. All right, we got you, Joe.
And is influenced by Gustave Le Bon, right? Whose opening quote is at the top of the article. All of whom believed, like he did, that civilization is a very temporary thing at best, and argued for it, right? So, in order to counter-argue, you'd have to get into each one of those people. You'd have to really do a monumental work, because I'm telling you, they all may be wrong, including Freud. But how are you going to know? Do you realize the research and the reading of each of these men? And you can throw in even your Nietzsche's in there somewhere at some point, and a few others as well. Not every philosopher was a progressive in the true sense of that word, which meant optimistic, that life is moving towards a 0 point, a good place, a utopia. In fact, when you really get into it, the whole concept of utopia, Otto Rank would have laughed at your ideas of utopia.
Thing, even Terence McKenna talked about, we're going to a 0 point, a singularity, things will be better after, everything's going to be great. When you quote unquote die under the religious act, you go to the afterlife of heaven. Everything's going to be great. But is that a cope? Right?
And he would said, why is it that these books that are on utopia, be it, any of the utopians, there's loads of them, the communitarians, but even somebody like Terence McKenna, this neo-hippie, neo-pagan kind of cult that goes around, right? They're very, very, very strong, and I critique them in the article. Isn't the future just another womb metaphor? According to Otto Rank, it is.
Womb metaphor. I'm going to keep hitting that, man. This is this propensity, again, to go into the groups, right? Look at me. I'm like, let me drop the link. Instead of sharing my ideas, I want to see what some other people have to say. Now, maybe it's different. Now, maybe just building, he's building with this gentleman right here. Michael is, it doesn't necessarily mean you want to go necessarily into the womb if you're engaging and dialoguing with other people. But when you, probably when you succumb to the group think of, I cannot go against what they say, I'm going to look like a dork, or they won't accept me, because as long as you don't rock the boat, the group will take care of you, right? The collective will take care of you. The womb metaphor. I'm going to keep hitting it, man.
We wouldn't even be able to follow the train of thought. What? Womb metaphor? How do you get that? Because you've got to read the man. You've got to know what is a womb metaphor. It's not progressive. It sounds like it is. That's the window dressing. That's the self-deception to say, tomorrow's world is going to be brighter and better, and we're going to live in a brotherhood of man.
Look at that voice he did, that nerdy voice, nasally voice. I have to say, it sounded like Paul kind of when he was talking about 10th Man. That shit's funny. Yeah, man. I mean, that is a really positive thing to say. The womb, everything's going to be great. We're going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. But I like to be optimistic. However, I'm probably going to be saving that optimism more for me personally in my narrative right now, more than thinking about the group so much.
Rank would have laughed at that. Freud would have laughed at that. He goes, man projects these womb metaphors, where everything's going to be bright and beautiful, but you can't falsify it. You pick out certain things, certain areas or timelines or whatever, So in one school, the past was the womb metaphor. Hey, it was better in primitive life. Man lived in the jungle. He roamed free. He frolicked in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah. Yeah, it was better. It was better in the 1950s, when the woman stayed in the home, not just made a sandwich for lunch, but she made the, 3-course meal, brought me my drink every night, didn't give me too much pushback. Right? The tradcon life, meaning traditional conservative, right? That was, we need to go back to that.
That was the better life. But of course, some people have seen through that. They go, I don't think we can push that. But I believe in extopia. I believe in utopia. I believe that tomorrow, look at all the communists who believe this. When you really push a communist, he'll always be telling you that their doctrine is flawed now because we are just in the stage of building tomorrow's utopia.
That's actually the ultimate womb narrative for communism, right? In terms of political theory, right? The collective at all costs. But in fact, there's always going to be oligarchs on top, a group of men who are like women taking care of themselves only. They're the party, not the people.
You up. We're communists. You keep pointing our flaws, but that's because we're only halfway up the ladder. Get out of our way. We mean well. You see? So under this other womb metaphor of the future, which it can be anything, who's going to tell you what?
So hopefully it was a good care. It says Max's bones in the Neanderthal show that they cared for their elderly and disabled in that social order. Yeah. Yeah, and I see that's my positive way of saying. Was it a gentle care? Was it? I assume it is, right? Yeah. Natural law, yeah. Everyone has, as a human being, there are certain laws that are going to be manifested no matter what happens.
You don't even know in your own life what your future is going to be, let alone for mankind. But what a con job, right? To say, we're going to fix everything. Didn't Mao Zedong think that?
Great leap forward. Yeah.
Yeah, so exactly.
When millions of people were killed.
A laughable, in psychoanalysis, utopianism holds no water whatsoever, zero, except for the fact that it's another self-deceptive mode which people get into because they're actually regressive. And I make this very clear in the article in several places, right? That this utopianism, which is the woke are into it, the communists are certainly into it, the New Agers are into it, these neo-primitives are into it, some billionaires who bankroll it are into it. And they have, what they've done? They put up their little people's champions. I won't mention their names, even in this movement, who sell you this jive, right? I've been attacked because I won't join their crowd, right? But I mentioned their names in the article. And so this is a very, very powerful cult. But it's all based in womb metaphor. So once you know the psychological underpinning of the thing, well, then you just don't join it. And you don't let other people join it. Like I do in my message, I try to warn people about this. It's got nothing to do with a genuine concern for the future. It's rooted in psychological regression. And this is where Freud, I think, then, is extremely valuable. And so are the Freudians.
Yeah, we'll continue on with the article and just try to elucidate a little bit more of what we've been discussing there. So, the article continues. We are not asked to interject parental imalgos and obey parental dictates. It's demanded. Parenting is for the most part a form of adultism, and that is tyranny. Children aren't taught, they're trained, like performing seals. Freudians rightly describe the superego as the tyrant in the head. It is responsible for the most neurotic traits and internal tension. And this is something we spoke about last time. It was crucially about how the superego dramatically magnifies that parental imago and their hectoring voices, which in turn means that the demands of the inner voice are bound to be, in most cases, more severe than those of one's physical parents. Each child is literally flooded with guilt for even the slightest infraction of society's standards. The situation can become so unbearable that a person may not only become highly neurotic, but may decide to mentally and emotionally regress to a period before the advent of the superego. This pathological condition is what we now find rampant among millennials and members of the woke thugocracy. So that perfectly ties into what you were saying there just before. We have this repression of instincts, and this leads to these, self-hatred that then comes as a result of that as well also. How do people
see? Oh, well, I was just going to say, I'm glad you read that part because we have anatomized some of the, the functions of the superego. But this is good because this is the one that's usually accepted by psychologists. Some of the other ones we did were a deeper dive. I still think they're valuable. But believe you me, if listeners to our work here have found it a little bit difficult, then just get this one. This is the big all caps rule of the superego. Get me the approval of the masses. Okay. So if all the other ones that were a deeper dive just can't, it takes more time to download, that's okay. I don't fault you for that. But get this one as the number one download. The superego's most important function in the human head, right, is this direction to say, follow these dictates. And if you don't, you're going to be flooded with guilt to get you back in line.
There's definitely that voice in the back of my head that's slowly being extinguished. You know, that voice of trying to keep you in line. But what is the motivation from it, though? For it. What's up, Hurricane? Paro, fucking epic broadcast yesterday. That was so much fun reviewing your show. It was fucking fun. I love your energy, bro. You are literally my favorite YouTuber. That's not a lie. You know, I love what we're doing here. You know, we are getting better and better and greater here at Gabriel Carbo. I'll say though, but man, I really enjoy your style, son. And yeah, and feel free to come up, man. Whenever you're like, you're always welcome, my brother. Matter of fact, I need to mod you up, bro. You fucking legend.
Now, when people said, but I have had good parents, so I don't know why I've turned out this way, or I've read a story about a very, very seriously pathological type of person, you know, like a Ted Bundy or what have you, or a Jeffrey Dahmer, and then you go back and look at their parents and the argument is that they weren't that bad. I don't get this Freudian stuff. I think it's shite. That's because you turned over 2 pages at once. The law is that the superego magnifies the imagos and magnifies their voice. So you don't necessarily have to have extremely tyrannous physical parents. This part's missed out, and so we all go haywire. And Freudians who mean well but haven't read their Freud properly don't get this, and therefore they can't argue, you know, to the critics. Yeah, I've noticed this. But the Freudian who does know this, he's invulnerable. Because the superego's function is to magnify. And then this is so damn important. Because one of the things that the magnification does is it makes you more inclined to identify with the object of your hate. Why identify with a power that's there, but not that captivating? But by the time the superego has magnified imagine that, you know, it's like shadows on a wall. In the light, it's just a tiny thing. But in the superego, this thing is huge. It's a fucking giant. I'm going to think that little stick is a huge club. This is how it works. And therefore, the very pathology of identifying with the tyrant is more likely because of this magnification. But the other thing is that when the superego is wielding this big stick and flooding us with guilt, we are forced to go along with its dictates. And then comes in the cherry on the top. Then comes the carrot. Will lower guilt once you conform. So don't you see everybody's got blue hair and everybody's got smelly armpits and everybody, you know, has their Che Guevara t-shirt?
See, it's manufacturing what a rebel is, right? Everyone's the same, like so much so, yeah, right. What things used to make you stand out, it's like, oh, bro, you're just a tool. Bro, you're just doing that program. Even worse so that you think you're a rebel with your ripped jeans, manufacturally ripped jeans. You're not a real punk. Come on, man. You smell okay. All right. Do you use that crystal deodorant, Max? Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Hurricane Pearl. You inspire me to be greater and greater. Coming with that energy, man, and also like solid takes. I had a couple people that they said they didn't like. They're like, "Who's Hurricane Pearl?" I can't believe I didn't know who this. You know, I haven't watched his channel before. They're like, "I need to see this guy's channel. I need more." And they're like, "How does he know all these associations and people?" I'm like, "Cause he's always there. If you pay attention, he's in the chat. I mean, he'll go up on the panel, but he's in the chat. He's adding to discussions. He's passionate about it, and he has passion mixed with logic and good critical thinking. That is the ultimate male alpha masculine mixed with the divine feminine, right? And that's what we're getting at, man. Fucking legend. Yeah.
What are you doing? Don't you see all these beliefs? You better get in line, buddy. So get those piercings. You want to signal to everyone around you you're the same as them. Start sprouting the same old shite that they're talking about. And that's what we do. Because remember, we're not talking about conformity to the world anymore. The Marcusean Fabian network has said, but we'll make it so that you concentrate on conforming to the group, the fringe group, or the sort of smaller, more urban group that you belong to. It used to be different when you didn't have all these cliques. Then it was more of a universal worldly identification. Then you could be the organization man in the pinstripe suit with a bowler hat and the rolled up umbrella. Then you could be the organization man in the pinstripe suit with a bowler hat and the rolled up umbrella, right? But the one change that has happened is that now there's all these splinter countercultural groups and sects to make identification easier. And that's exactly what you find. It's the mods versus the rockers. It's, all the different groups. Look at what do you think identity politics is? We can explain everything that's happening today. Identity politics is you identifying with your group. That you starts in school and all the girls look exactly the same. They apply the makeup exactly the same. They watch the same fucking shows, right? Everything is exactly the same. They speak exactly in the same manner.
I'll show you an example. Speaking of Paro, Hurricane Paro's here. This is perfect. Watch if I type in IG baddies compilation. Instagram baddie. They all look the same. Watch. Check this out. Look at these girls.
Bust down, bitch, I'm drowning. I'm with all my niggas, I don't go nowhere without them. If they don't let us in, they might throw shots at the bouncer. Activist medicine, got it straight from out the doctors. I'm with RG, but I call him Wade cause he's a shotter. Pick up, Sin City wasn't made, yeah. I'm just like, yeah. Well, you know it, well, you know it, well, you know it, well, you know it, well, you know it.
Millie got millies cause Millie got hits. You pop pimples, so ain't pop shit. You can talk like this when you're really that feeling nice.
I mean, these are not the baddies where usually they try to look like Kim Kardashian and shit. Where is that? Is this it? Oh wait. Usually it's easy to find this shit. What the fuck? Yeah, basically they all look the same. Oh yeah. TikTok. They all look the same. I mean, anyway, fuck it. Let's get back to this video. Let's see. Nah, I gotta give you some. Gotta give you a little something. Feed the bros. Come on, man. Here we go, TikTok girls. Under the Kim Kardashian Act.
Ando na prancha, cuidado tubarão vai. Ando na prancha.
What's the most popular shit? You got a compilation? No. All right,
I'm a
everyone's
sex worker, right? I know some people get so shocked they don't even know, but that's what I am. That's what I do.
Feed the
I'm
bros.
a sex worker, right? I know some people get so shocked they don't.
Okay, we get the picture. Yeah. Back to Freud in there.
identifying with your group. That you starts in school and all the girls look exactly the same. They apply the makeup exactly the same. They watch the same fucking shows, right? Everything is exactly the same. They speak exactly in the same accent. All of this is exactly what we're talking about right now. Courtesy of the superego. You must fit in. And if you don't, you're going to be flooded with guilt. That's the number one function of the superego. We talked about its other functions, and to a deeper thinker, they're very important. But this is the generalized one that should be taught in every classroom. Because the ultimate result of this is the death of individuality and the birth of crowd consciousness, right? Now, anything more to add to that? Yes. Because this adjustment to the dictates of the superego is a kind of a violent thing, right? I've already said that the word repression can be easily exchanged with the word oppression. The real oppressor is the superego. But the thing is that there's also something very, very important to know, and it's ironic. When you listen to the dictates of the superego, you're at the same time denying another voice within you, which is the voice of the conscience. And you're doing so violently. Right?
Meaning that you're holding down your conscience over the fact of the so-called superego, the society telling you what's right or wrong. Bro, it's like, I mean, like I understand yesterday when Gage was like, and some other people were like, why is Perro keep talking about big dick soldiers and shit like that? I'm like, bro, because in a primal world, strip away all the civilization and making people not wanting to make people feel inadequate and whatnot. Like fuck it, a lot of women see someone with a big fucking phallus as like a power symbol, right? Manly, right? Not no micro penis, right? But the super ego was telling them like, oh god, I can't believe this guy's saying that, even though they were intrigued by it, right? Because he was going beyond the super ego, like going to what's really going on. What up, Buddha? In the building, man. In the building, bro. Yeah. This is Reset the Topic. This is Michael Tessarion talking about Freud, and we're adding on to about how Freud. There seemed to be a conspiracy about Freud, and to keep his teachings out of the Western mind. I mean, in particular, the American Western mind, and how a lot of his works were translated, and his talk of the soul and creativity and imagination was kind of left out of a lot of his teachings. And Jung, Carl Jung was his student, was like actually that stuff was propagated when he talked about the soul and some of the more creative things, but it was seemed to be repressed from Freud. And I think Freud's emphasis on the benefit of analyzing your psyche can really help you out from being so anxious a lot, most of the time, folks all the time, being anxious and paranoid and whatnot. And this womb metaphor, it keeps being brought up, the fact that like this propensity to be in groups that are actually that actually, when you think about it, aren't aligned with your true being. Even though like the group may not be aligned with how we really want to be, we feel safety in that group, right? And even though that group stifles our individuality, and they don't want us to go against the group thought, that's like the metaphor of the womb. A lot of these things we do are trying to get back into the womb, right? When we don't need to. So let's get back on it.
You have to violently suppress the voice of the self, right? This is the dynamic of tension. And this is what breeds neuroticism. Neuroticism is just the outcome of, a tension that won't go away. Okay, but what else? The superego is giving you the carrot as well. Hey, you'll get the payoff, which will lower the guilt that I'm flooding you with when you go and adjust to the crowd. Be that organization man. Be that conformist, okay? And the quicker you do it, the better, because then the guilt comes down. And we go, sorry, I didn't read that part. Okay, here I go. And you join the crowd. And haven't you noticed that when you shove a mic into the face of these social justice warriors and millennials, they're always grinning? Always. They're grinning. They're having a ball. Most of them are high as kites. Yeah. They're laughing at you. They love jumping around semi-naked, sprouting nonsense because they're happy discontents. They're in the crowd and they're happy because the guilt within them is lowered by this conformity. You'll never see them really crying. Not, it's all fake. The crocodile tears when they, forced to, because this is the thing they do with a cause. But why do they get their causes? Where do these beliefs and causes come from? This is based in the pseudo emotionality that's demanded by the superego to show that you're, you virtue signal, that you're a caring person. You're not a caring person.
The self may not exist according to like Buddhist teachings and Advaita teachings. However, what we're talking about here, what Freud and Michael are talking about is like, and what I'm talking about is the fact that people don't even have the concept of a self, in the sense that it's not, if it's not there, you think like, why should I try to find it? Well, in trying to find it, you'll find some other things out about your psyche in the process. And because I think I've heard him talk about Michael Tsarion, the guy talking, that I don't even know if the self is there, right? But however, most people don't even live an introspective life to even ask that question, and I think that's important to have us, as we say, a second perception. Not just the first perception, just work, family, entertainment. No, think about things about in like, what's the motivation of things? Like, is this what I really want to do? What's my motivation for it? Once you start thinking like that and questioning things, there's no turning back, right? Even if you wanted to. Shout out to to Markella. Support the channel through and buy me a coffee. Right, every bit helps. Keep the content rolling. Yeah, hit that link, man. Give me do a donation, bro. It make you feel good. Buddha said, attached to a self as an illusion, it can lead to suffering. Yes. But most people can't even start there.
You're a violent person. Your joining of the crowd is a violent act against the self. You never, even though the crowd is feminine.
It could be speaking colloquially too when he says self too, meaning like not necessarily he's talking about that self or whatever, but the concept of an I or whatever for the sake of talking about certain things.
Logically, that doesn't make it any less violent. In fact, it is, in my opinion, it's the most violent institution that's ever existed. It's the mob, it's the crowd. But your joining of it is not some passive thing where I woke up one day and go, I think I'm going to join a crowd today. No, it's a very, very violent, right? From a typological and psychological point of view, the joining of the crowd is a violent act, one of the most violent, because it's against the self. It's a way of you're following the direction of the superego, which, yes, it will give you a modicum of temporary peace. And you also get to silence the guilt. And you also get the amplification of the neurotic ideas that you have because you're in a crowd of so many other people like yourself. Yes, all of these things will allow a certain alleviation, but it's temporary. You need the constant infusion of the
time I've gone along to get along without even agreeing with people, either at work or even in the fucking panelverse, it's like it's like it could be a slow form of suicide, just chipping away of what really valuable in your life. You don't want to speak up because you rock the boat or whatever, but it's like, or be ostracized. But damn, you're killing yourself slowly.
Of adrenaline. That's why the people, you get into the crowd conscious, can't break away from it. They're addicted to it. Oh yeah, but this is a very violent action. Make no mistake about that. Which then leads to an ultimate conclusion. How can people whose whole motive when they join the political crowd, the thugocracy, has been violent, and how can they plea for world peace? You see the irony, the contradiction? How can you possibly unchain the world, free another, and petition for world peace when you're riddled in a kind of violence that you don't even know exists? Big Brother is killing themselves laughing, right? They're literally killing themselves laughing at you. But ultimately comes down to your lack of psychological knowledge. And then there's many other syndromes. I don't know. Do you want to go into some more of these syndromes?
Yeah, sure. And what you're speaking about, like, I'm sure people have seen all the videos online. I don't know if you've ever came across Billboard Chris. Are you familiar with his work? Oh, yeah.
Well, before you get into Billboard quiz, let's do a quick synopsis of Freud, some of his ideas and whatnot. Very interesting, man.
A neurologist, most popularly known as the founding father of psychoanalysis, a set of theories and therapeutic techniques.
Kind of funny how like Sigmund Freud would get you to lay down in a dark room, and talk about your innermost neuroses and anxiety and dreams, and interpret your dreams. And that's literally going back into the womb, right? The darkness, to go back to the origin of things. Womb metaphor, big time.
Used through dialogue between a patient and a psychoanalyst, a sort of talking cure in order to study the unconscious mind, and as a method of treatment for mental disorders. Although it had been discussed before, Freud was the first person to popularize and structure the concept of the unconscious. Despite repeated criticisms of his work, he became recognized as a profound thinker in his age and left a remarkable intellectual legacy. You have probably come across the term Freudian slip before, an error in speech that occurs due to the interference of an unconscious subdued wish or internal train of thought. He called dreams wish fulfillment. His theory proposes that dreams are a byproduct of the dreamer's physical and mental state during sleep, and distinguishes between manifest dream, the actual literal subject matter of the dream, and latent dream, the underlying meaning of these symbols.
Okay, the actual dream, using the context of your everyday life in your dream to figure out solutions.
The latent dream being the real dream, and the goal of dream interpretation is to reveal it through concepts such as condensation, reduction, and simplification of rich contents of latent dreams, and displacement, an unconscious process that transfers emotions, ideas, and wishes to diminish anxiety. For Freud, the psyche is composed of the id, ego, and superego. The id is the unconscious instinctual component of personality that is present at birth. It is the source of bodily needs and wants, emotional impulses,
It's actually like the pleasure principle. Freud talks a lot about sex, and that's our motivation for most things. But you're like, oh, sex. Well, a baby doesn't think about that. But it's like when he's talking about sex, it's more of a pleasures, not just sexual, but like getting milk, getting food, being soothed by your mother or father when you're being held, right? So, yeah.
and desires. Freud believed there to be two fundamental human drives, the life drive and the death drive. The life drive, or libido, acts according to the pleasure principle characterized by eros, as well as procreation, social cooperation, and survival. It is oriented to the immediate gratification of impulse and desire and an avoidance of pain. The death drive is characterized by thanatos, which represents death and self-destruction. With instincts such as aggression and risky behavior, the ego acts according to the reality principle. It seeks to please the its drive in realistic ways that, in the long term, bring benefit rather than grief.
Look at the ego principle would be ego is like he said, the reality principle. When I think of reality principle, I think about how your mother is more in that first that id, helping you with set your personality and whatnot up. And then when you get to be 5, 6, or 7, the father comes, the ego, to talk to you about reality, the reality of the situation. Mom tells you about the environment, in the sense like how to feel comfortable, how to love back, how to receive love, love the world, right? Let the world love you through, she shows her love, while the father shows you the reality of the situation. This is how you can get things that pleasure you from reality, and this is how you sometimes, if you don't get what you want, you can. This is how you cope, or this is how you work through it or push through it. you know, reality principle, ego, right? Very interesting. What would you do? What would you do if you get with me on my crew? What would you do if you had 24 hours to live? What's up, Joe? How's it going on?
Chilling, man.
Yeah,
Always good to listen, man.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I got these little spurts going.
yeah,
And
you're doing well, yo. Look at you. You
thanks,
need
man.
what do you call them? One of them fucking pills. Claritin. You need one of them Claritin. Listen.
Yeah, kind of. Make sure you don't need it.
Right.
Yeah. And I think a lot of fucking pollen in the air and whatnot. Was that a good hit?
It was, it's great too. It's my first. I've been busy. I had to go check on the car, trying to get the sticker, emissions test.
Damn, first
Whole
one.
family's over today, and blah blah blah. So this is the first time I got to even hit my shit. Period. I've been just hitting the vape all day. But before I forget, I wanted to say that the first sign, take it, and it stops it from developing full force. If you do like me, like now, my nose is running. I probably should have took one earlier. But take it at the first sign, and yeah, it's just so worth it, man. That should be draining down in you all day and just makes you worse and shit.
Yeah, I usually don't have it all day. I think it's just dusty up here. I got to dust the patio. Came through. I opened the door of the patio, so
I don't understand this. I don't understand how that shit works, because I don't know. Maybe because it's wintertime here, everybody got runny noses. Maybe that's why. But
now it's just springtime almost here.
Yeah, maybe it's the pollen.
It's February.
Because is that a thing over there?
Of course, yeah, of course. Just like everywhere it is. It's just that like it gets warmer sooner. Whereas February over there in the Midwest and East Coast, it can still be very, very cold. But here,
it's still absolute dead of winter in February. Yeah.
Yeah, here it's like a couple of days ago it got to be brilliantly hot.
All right.
So these pods could be opening up or whatnot and spreading.
Okay. Oh wow.
About to say tree steaming.
Here they say April showers bring May flowers. So here, they just talking about the flowers don't really come till May. It just warm up enough in April for it to rain, all that shit. So yeah, we got a few months. Our shit lasts.
You think that still holds up though, especially with all the weird weather trends and
I absolutely don't. When I was a kid, I can remember during the winter. We used to hustle shoveling snow. It was a job. We looked forward to it because as little kids, so many people get stuck in the thick snow. You had to shovel them out, and it was a hustle everywhere you go. Sometimes now in the winter, you might get 1-2 snows out of the whole winter. Something's changing. I don't know. I don't think it holds true like it used to when they made up these stories.
Man, that sucks for those little entrepreneurs.
Yes. My cousin had moved here from I don't know what state. And he fell into the drug shit trying to hang with me and my friends, but it didn't work out well. And when he squared up, which is beautiful, he moved to the suburbs and he got a square gig and he started his first entrepreneurial situation. This when he first got here, it was the trucks with the plow. I think he had one for him, one for his friend, put the plow on him. And it probably snowed 3 times that year. Then in the morning, the engine too. Poor dude, right? I'm like, you could count on snow in Chicago. No, not no more. No,
you got it.
70 degrees fucking on Thanksgiving. It used to be freezing and snowing. And you can walk around with a hoodie and go around in November, December.
Can you imagine 70 degrees in Chicago or New York on a Thanksgiving with all the family around? I'll probably be outside before I eat, be smoking and shit, and then go back in and enjoy the ambiance. And
I used to hit every friend house if it's a weather that's good. I go to everybody's cooking, so everybody I know, I go over there fucking. And it's the city, so every block is like 2 families. You hit. I do that shit all day long. It was the funnest shit in the world. Thanksgiving just stopped me.
It is. And then when I got to be in my early 20s, we have this thing called this party called Cream of Beat, where the local radio station 106.1's KML. Hip hop station, R&B station, and every Thanksgiving and Christmas, the night of that, since most people are in town, they would have a party at a particular club, and they play all hip hop before the 90s, 90 and
Right,
below, like the
right,
90s and
right,
below,
right.
and
I get
it
it.
was so much fun. It was so much fun. Those parties, everybody be
Yeah,
back in town and whatnot. Hey,
yeah,
so
this
we're going over to
whole
the Sigmund Freud stuff. Like, I think he's a very interesting dude because contrary to what I used to think, I thought that like he was embedded with the national, the Association of Psychiatrists in America, but
right,
actually they don't really pump his shit that much.
right.
Um, and according to this researcher Michael Tessarion, who I've been following like for like 15, 16 years, like off and on, like he was saying that there's almost a conspiracy against his
I
to
would think so.
to take his wording off because you've heard of Carl Jung, right, with archetypes and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I gotta read them
Yeah.
because y'all keep talking about them so much. I hear about them, so
But,
I haven't read them myself.
well, it's interesting. I mean, we all see archetypes, but he just like tried to look at different cultures and talk about the commonality of these archetypes and stuff. But anyway, his mentor was Freud, right? And
Right,
especially when it comes to interpreting dreams and whatnot. And
right.
I did not know that Freud was so. He talked about the soul and like these like things that are not concrete, abstract things like that.
Right.
I thought he was just a technician. You know what I mean? Like a
No, you could
numbers
have
guy or
no,
whatever.
no, no, no. And I agree with you on everything you said. I think because I know coming up, Freud was quoted all the time. Now he's slammed as the cocaine junkie and shit. So there's a
Yes, there you
campaign to
go.
slam his ass.
I'm glad you brought
And
that up too. Yeah.
and I always thought that it was because of that dream angle that he took. The rest of this shit was
Uh-huh.
pretty conventional, but this shit with you being a part of not just the player, but the creator of every character, and that
Every
you can
character, yeah.
discern certain things. Yeah, I think that's the part that's getting them slammed.
I
'Cause
don't know
that's
why
like
though. That
woo woo talk. They wouldn't like it.
yeah, because right, they wouldn't because as it is, he's talking about the mind. That's something that no one can put their hands around, no matter how like
Yeah,
technical left brain you are. So already right there,
it's
um,
land that's gonna you can't define it, and it's not tangible and shit. And in the abstract, and in the end, it points to God because things exist in the
yes,
intangible spaces, and it points to those intangible spaces. So they'd have to sweep his legs out from under him.
yeah, right. Mm, yeah, yeah. 'Cause I had a dream the other night about about like and I assume it was like my wife and my son and stuff, but we didn't look like we look like, right? And I
Right.
thought about like I got some insight from my perspective in the dream, but then I thought about it. I'm like, I actually got perspective of the woman because I kind of got to think about like what my
So
wife was thinking on something,
yeah,
but that was
yeah.
me too.
I understand. In the dream, it was you
Yeah,
two on
so
three
this is
different
wild,
levels
bro.
too. Right, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
And it's funny that like I've been tripping my mind the last 2 weeks with the Freud and some other stuff that like now I'm having these dreams, and I also think it's because we're in a Pisces season, which is
okay.
very conducive and resonates with dreaming and the illusions and stuff. Neptune,
Huh.
dreams and the subconscious. This is why I got my friend out here swimming through the subconscious waters of your
You
mind.
know, I
Yeah,
hate to agree with you on anything about the stars and shit, but I
yeah,
will have to admit that lately I've been remember my dreams have been very lucid and like the
yeah,
old days. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Just look at it as a tool, like the astrology. This one thing. That's how I look at it. So let's go back to this. This is just a overview. I don't know if you saw about the he's talking about the it. I'll rewind a little bit
Yeah,
to get the
because
basics of Freud.
all of my people had just left out, so we were just I don't know. So I didn't hear
We're
it. I
doing
had to
our
take the
thing, man.
headphones off.
This is our communing with the gods are talking.
I
Not
think
no
I heard
disrespect to
everything
the
but the
god.
Freudian part.
Yeah,
Yes, I
Freud, the
understand that.
psyche is composed of the latent dream being the real dream. For Freud, the psyche is composed of the id, ego, and superego. The id is the unconscious instinctual component of personality that is present at birth. It is the
and Michael will get into this. I think that's the mom relationship. Your mom helps you with that because she's your first teacher, your first
Whoa, 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 whoa! I thought he
food.
was saying the opposite. I thought he was saying it carries in from elsewhere, which would be another point that God that it's you start with it. I wouldn't
Oh
think.
yeah,
I thought.
okay,
I thought
okay,
you were
okay.
saying before your mom imprints. I thought that's how I was
Okay.
taking what you said.
It's prenatal, we could say.
Yeah, it's
It's
your
prenatal. Yeah,
baseline that you start
yeah.
with before people start playing with your
But
shit.
but what couldn't one say though? Like even if you're in the mother's stomach,
Yeah,
she's still
you can still
influencing
start
you
programming.
just
Well,
by
then,
nurturing you. And
yeah,
the,
he would. I know I did that with my kid. I would make my
yeah,
girl put rap headphones and play rap music and shit on her belly. I know I was influencing like a motherfucker.
yeah, definitely that way. Because I would say like you go, what's up, logical sports? I would say you go to from
Fuck this
0 to
Max. Ain't here no more. Max always got some good shit to add to. Go ahead.
yeah, he
Just
could
you
be in
go
there
from
so
0
far to 7 years old. I'll just say like well, your mom is like helping you with that foundation mostly, like
mom
being
is the
okay with the
biggest
world
part. Right.
and being like because some people that don't have the love of their mom, they end up hating the world. You notice that sometimes, like in and
Does
not always, but
your
I've
mom
or
because
mother
you
figure.
does that mom because I think you're right about that 7. She's got the bigger so and so. I
Hmm.
think that's where that fantastical stuff and is that where the imagination is allowed? Assuming you get the right
Yes,
female behind you the first 7 years, your imagination should flourish. Yeah,
right. It
you
should
think?
definitely should flourish to you about 5, 6, 7, and then and this is loosely you can go like both way. A little anyway. Like your father comes along in development
Right,
of your development, and then he was talking about the ego. He'll talk about
right.
the ego right here, and like that's like
Okay.
your how you face quote unquote reality.
Yes,
And it's
dad's
like
the
your
opposite.
first.
Once dad comes in,
Mhm.
it's not about the dream no more. It's about reality. I was thinking the
It's about
same thing.
reality.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
this is what you can get because before it was about the pleasure principle, like getting what he needs, the food, the love, all that.
right,
And
right.
but the dad's like, okay, I'll show you how to get these things in the reality. In reality, however, I'm also going to show you how to cope if you don't get it or push through if you do.
Whoa.
If you do, you know what I mean. That's important too.
Just the push through is one word, cope is another. And in a way, I like cope better. It stings more, but you got to do what you
Yeah,
got to do and tell yourself
yeah,
what you got to tell yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I got to go to fucking work in a couple hours.
Source of bodily needs and wants, emotional impulses, and desires. Freud believed there to be 2 fundamental human drives, the life drive and the death drive. The life drive, or libido, acts according to the pleasure principle characterized by arrows, as well as procreation, social cooperation, and survival. It is oriented to the immediate gratification of impulse and desire and an avoidance of pain. The death drive is characterized by thanatos, which represents death and self-destruction. With instincts such as aggression and risky behavior, the ego acts according to the reality principle. It seeks to please the its drive in realistic ways that in the long term bring benefit rather than grief. It allows one to delay gratifying immediate needs and function effectively in the real world. The superego reflects the internalization of cultural
Okay. Ego.
acts according to the reality principle. It seeks to please the its drive in realistic ways that in the long term bring
Realistic. That's like left brain, huh? Like, yeah, you may want to be a cop. I mean, no, not cop. You may want to be like a fucking I don't know, like a wizard or something like that. But come on, let me show you how you can observe nature, go on this walk, son, and then get some benefit out of it. Maybe pick some flowers and sell them. You're switching phones?
Yeah, I'm switching headphones, man. I heard some popping. I know it's coming from this phone. It's
Okay.
weird. This is a big ask, but can you, the last few seconds, 10 seconds of what dude was talking about, can you play
Yeah, I
that
can
again?
rewind it for sure. I mean, welcome. She Lies, how's it going?
Very good.
What's up, bro?
Very
If you
good.
had 24 hours to live, what would you do? Who would you see?
That's a great question, TMF.
I was
That's a
fucking.
great question. No, don't know. I'm dying to know, right? Now, from this nigga.
24 hours.
Mm.
I don't know. I'd probably write a lot.
The man say right. Dope.
Legacy.
I pick up the pen.
Legacy.
Yeah.
That was smart. That
In
was
the
dope.
paper. Okay, I like
And
it.
it's not so selfish. Right? It would have been selfish in one way or another. I know it would have. That was a good one, too, man.
That was
Yeah, I
good.
pop off a note. Last
See
note.
that pop up though. Pop off a note. They go
All right,
down in
before you
history.
play, just in case it's
Yeah.
my shit, I'm gonna exit, come right back, and look for me because I want to make sure that's my mic or whatever the fuck is going
Yeah.
on. So,
Yeah. Okay. We're talking about Freud, and I was reviewing a Michael Tessarion. He had this podcast from a couple months ago called "Conspiracy Against Freud," and he had mentioned something I didn't even know, that like some of the translations of Freud's work into English, they left out words like the soul and imagination and stuff like that. I didn't think he got down like that. Talked about stuff like that. So
Yeah. Jung said if you want to understand Freud, you have to understand the deep psyche of the Hasidic Judaism.
Okay.
You know, because he's raised in that sort of environment. You know, so
Freud was?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Let's see.
He's applying his idea of racial memory to Freud himself, right? To his teacher, right?
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Because it was Freud. Was he actually Jewish?
Yeah. Freud and Marx were Jewish. So it's
Okay.
interesting because Freud and Marx, they played a pivotal role in the Frankfurt School.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
In the Frankfurt School, their thinking dominated a lot of our schools in America, right? Colleges, universities, and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I brought that up to my Jewish friend, and the word Frankfurt School. He got all like, he's like, "What are you trying to? Are you a fucking?" He didn't call me anti-Semite, but he's kind of like pointing to that. It's like, God damn, bro! I just said Frankfurt School.
Yeah, we're banned again on YouTube, so it is what it is.
Shit. You got banned?
Oh yeah.
What the fuck? Do you have Caliphate still?
Oh yeah, we'll be live on there on Saturday.
Okay.
Instead of the other
good.
one.
Okay. Jeez. Yeah. They can't stop us.
Yeah, but too many just really strange topics. I mean, for sure. But
yeah. Maybe we'll have the honor of being banned here if we go deep enough. Joe Cool, are you ready? Joe Cool.
I think he said he was like switching a phone or something like that.
Okay. Maybe one
represents death and an avoidance of pain. The death drive is characterized by Thanatos, which represents death and self-destruction. With instincts such as aggression and risky behavior, the ego acts according to the reality principle. It seeks to please the its drive in realistic ways that, in the long term, bring benefit rather than grief. It allows one to delay gratifying immediate needs and function effectively in the real world. The superego reflects the internalization of cultural rules taught by the guidance and influence of parents, institutions, and ideal models.
That's like I'm sure I really part of that super ego for some of my students. I'm trying to embed that shit, and also my child, all that super ego, right? In this equation, the super ego would be like kind of like Big Brother machine.
Yeah, I kind of feel like a lot of this is a mirror of Plato's Republic. Right, because
reworking of it.
Yeah, I couldn't help but notice there's 3 parts.
Right.
Each of the parts of the soul correspond to parts of the society as well.
Okay.
Right. So in like this, how he's talking about how you internalize the needs of the tribe and so on and so forth. Right. That's a higher level of internalization. Right. He seems to be going up the ladder, of the tripartite soul. Right.
Mm-hmm. And you see here in the visuals too, the 3 different.
Right. Yeah.
Couldn't past, present, and future be part of that too? The trilogue too, overlaid.
Right. Past, present, and future. Passion. Love and reason. right?
Mhm.
Also, it's it's expressed in a
Yeah, I
bunch of
think
different
so.
ways. Yep.
Right. Thanks for that. Let's just keep going on this.
It works in ego reflects the internalization of cultural rules taught by the guidance and influence of
Oh yeah.
parents,
Oh yeah. I was gonna say
institutions,
mind,
and
body, and
ideal
soul. Obviously.
models. It works.
Oh yeah, mind, body, soul for
Yeah,
sure.
that's the one that slipped.
Yes, that's the most one that we see. Most of us,
Right.
in the new Asians, like love that one, huh? Oh.
Right.
Works in contradiction to the id. It strives to act in a socially appropriate manner, whereas the id just wants instant gratification. It controls our sense of right and wrong and guilt, helping us fit into society by getting us to act in socially acceptable ways. Thus, the id.
That's like we can't listen to the machine and NPC, Gabriel. You're not part of the group, right? So that's super ego for some people. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is the set of uncoordinated instinctual desires. The superego plays the critical and moralizing role, and the ego is the organized, realistic agent that mediates between the instinctual desires of the id and the critical superego. Although the id is unconscious by definition, the ego and superego are both partly conscious and partly unconscious. In founding psychoanalysis, Freud developed therapeutic techniques such as free association, which is the method of listening to patients speak for themselves, working through their own material rather than parroting another's suggestions. It is the content of consciousness without censorship, as an aid in gaining access to the unconscious processes. Another important phenomenon is transference, in which a person unconsciously projects feelings onto other people, such as transferring feelings about one's parents to their partners, or mistrusting somebody who resembles an ex-spouse in manners, voice, or
It's like when Tommy calls everyone a F slur. He's looking in the beer.
Yeah, it also reminds me of the sort of idea of the ground of being, right? Where you have this sort of notion that that there's a sort of oneness that holds everything together, right? So that's sort of yeah.
Yeah,
We
you're
can hear
good.
you.
Thank you. You got it.
I could hear everything y'all was saying while I was up there. I thought I was in on the conversation.
No, Markella's like he's having some. Must be having some UYT problems, right? Yeah. And then Machine's been fucking breaking it down. You heard what he's saying? So you were saying, Machine, about the ground of being. Can you rewind a little bit what you said?
Yeah, that the unconscious is really in terms of cosmology and metaphysics, it's like the ground of being, right? Or natural law that's like sort of in the background of things, right? Before anything starts, right? So there's a sense in which, there's a creative aspect, there's a part that, it's like sort of unsaid that sort of, works. And then there's
I think he's talking about what I was just talking about, that baseline that before you even get here, before the mom influence, that natural prenatal baseline that accompanies you, which points toward a soul and more stuff if you chase that.
Yeah. I would see it as, if I want to look at it aesthetically, like mist or something, like closest thing I can think of, like a very ephemeral, but it's there though. Yeah. There's something there. It's just that you can't wrap it around.
Because it must be something for all these things to change. They don't just attach to, they change. Every time something attaches to you, it changes you, it moves you somewhere. Right. There must be something to attach to. That'd be the original you, the original baseline. That you got tricked and you believe that Trump was going to save you and the Republican. Then when you get up out of there, you can return back to your baseline, whatever it is before that influence came upon you.
Right. Yeah. You always go until the next one, the movie, right?
Yes. And then you got to find your baseline. Imagine that's what motherfuckers do. You try to get old and stop being swayed by other things. It sounds like some Eastern philosophy shit if I've ever heard it.
Yeah, this is the thing I was trying to look into. It says Schelling's. Right, Schelling's ground of being, or Grund, refers to a dark, irrational, unconscious urge or desire that precedes conscious existence and allows for the emergence of freedom, evil, and the created world. So this is the sort of thing I'm referring to.
Holy hell, you took it a step further. you're saying that inherent baseline had a
Yeah, like
evil intent or something.
It's like chaos or something, right? Like
Chaotic evil.
that's
Yeah.
unconscious. Yeah.
The occultists would say like the chaos is the foundation of being.
Right, like primordial chaos.
Right.
Exactly.
And you should obey it, and don't feel one way or another about it.
Yes,
exactly.
This is what this whole movement in the 70s and 80s that they call it chaos magic is like, not doing the ceremonial ritual magic. Like, I'm going to draw a star and wear this robe and like a church service. But nah, it's like me and you are talking right now. I'm be doing a ritual right now. I'm not.
Yeah, it's
but
more
like,
based on time. Like set and setting and like drugs and like sort of using time dilation and
yes.
Yeah.
Before you get that, like my thing I've been tripping off of these talks about Freud I've been listening to this week is like the womb metaphor, man. Like how a lot of this group going back to the collective is like trying to get back into the womb. Can be seen as getting back into the womb, man.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think Bill Cooper said that in I think it was Behold. Yeah,
or the Babylon workings.
Yeah, Behold the Pale Horse.
Okay, yeah.
No, even before that, he said how the desire to be part of the state is a desire to be in your mother's womb. So Plato's cave represents mother's womb.
Yeah,
stuff.
I like that. It makes sense. And I've seen it in Sopranos where he said it. Tony, after he took peyote, he was like, I just got this realization that like all of us are trying to get, our mothers are the bus or the vehicle to get us into the world, and all our lives a lot of us were trying to get back into that womb, but he's like, but she can't, she has her own journey she's doing. You can't do that. You're just making yourself more anxious and neurotic and stuff. I
assume it was metaphorical and there was a way to get back to the womb, but it wouldn't be, of course.
You can't, he said.
We got a story of a dude who murdered his mother and cut her heart out, to go sell to like a dude who convinced him to like kill his own mother, right? Like for money or something else, right? When he's going to give the heart, like, or show that he killed a mother and like he has a heart, he drops the heart and falls, and he hears the heart say, "Were you hurt?"
Wow.
Are you okay?
Yeah, are you okay? It's a wild story.
That's like the children's book, The Giving Tree. I don't know if you read that one, guys. Like where and like the last thing that motherfucking tree did was like, it's like she chopped her down. He was a stump. She was just a stump. He's like, she's like, take a rest. And even in that, her like most debilitated state, she's like, I'm looking after you, man. Let's see what's been going on this. Shout out to Gaia and them, Mother Earth.
Feelings about one's parents to their partners, or mistrusting somebody who resembles an ex-spouse in manners, voice, or external appearance. Psychosexual development is central to the psychoanalytic sexual drive theory. Freud believed that personality developed through a series of childhood stages, during which its libidinal energies become focused on different areas of the body. The development of a healthy adult personality is the result of successfully completing each of the psychosexual stages. However, if the child experiences frustration, it might lead to fixation, which is the persistent focus of its pleasure-seeking energies at the early stages of psychosexual development.
That's most people, right? Certainly everybody who runs to YouTube or the pills and drugs and shit. We're fixed on the pleasure shit.
Well, I have the student, like the second grader. One of them, like he always like puts things in his mouth all the time, and most kids don't do that even in second grade. But like for whatever reason, something must have happened in his development where he's like that soothes him or whatever, or he didn't get maybe breastfeed or fed and all that stuff. But and they say sometimes when we take up smoking, that could be an indication of that, and other things too. There's a lot of things
before.
Yeah, the oral fixation.
Yeah, the problem is that Freud used this sort of sexual psychology, right? Which, by the way, he's applying to children, right?
Right.
He used this to sort of get rid of the concept of sin and and people being like sort of under demonic influence, right? So so this is really important because at the time, right, if people had like sort of like untoward, like weird, like sort of strange behaviors, right, they would have chalked it up to either that person is sort of demonically influenced,
Right.
right,
Mhm.
or something else, right? So so that's a key thing about this is that he's taken that idea of sort of sin and how like that affects a person, right, to then chalk that up to, all right, well, kids have sort of these weird sexual impulses, which we know they don't really have.
Yeah.
Like I remember being a kid, like I wasn't like like, oh, like
I got caught
I don't know.
banging my neighbor. I was like 5 or 6 years old when they was watching Bozo. So
Whoa. See, hey,
yeah,
it depends on the kid, I guess, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it definitely depends on the kid, right? Because
Yeah.
like I didn't really know, like at 5, like I thought girls pee out of their butt because they don't have penises, right? So I was like, they probably pee out of their butt, right? So I didn't understand like how girls would even pee since they don't have dicks, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, where do
Yeah.
they pee from? I was like, what I mean? But yeah, I don't know, what I mean? So I guess I was a little different. I was a little more confused as
I
a kid.
guess so. Yeah, I probably knew that girls peed out of their their vagina or whatever, but I didn't think anything else goes up there. Definitely at 5, I didn't know. I didn't know about that. But there
I
was
thought I had a
maybe like 3 years
girlfriend
later.
at 5
Yeah.
and 6 and shit like that. I thought my
Damn,
heart
Joe.
was broken when I had moved to a different state at 6 or 7 or something.
Wow. You said you banged her though?
No, I was one of different neighbors' daughter. They was watching Bozo. We had snuck off in the closet. I don't remember
Well,
whose
that's the
idea
thing.
it was.
Okay.
It's cultural
Damn.
too, right? Because like
Yes.
back like
Chicago
back when we
culture.
like came here, right? Like in the
Going
90s,
up fast.
you know what I mean? Right? Like like
Yeah.
we weren't up on the Diddy parties and all that. But
Oh shit.
that was all
Okay.
happening here. But
Yeah. Yeah, but there was I was watching a video and there was I think it was a Freud apologist. He liked him, or I don't even liked him or not, but he said that what you're referring to about Freud sexualizing, seeing that child have sexual
thoughts,
they have in their thoughts or whatever. The way that he said it was like Freud he didn't mean actual sex, physical sex. He's talking about the pleasure principle, meaning that like getting food or milk or entertainment
I
from
didn't
the
assume that he was talking.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
what TML was saying or anything I just heard, he would have been talking about literally sex at all.
Yeah. I know the way TML said it sounded like Freud was literally talking about that they do, right?
He was saying that the thought made him do other things, not have the act of sex. I thought.
Well, Freud is saying that these kids have sexual attraction towards their own parents, and then their sexual energy is diverted. So it's incredibly weird. And he himself was incestuous with his sister.
Whoa, my man just sent me some super secret Bohemian Grove Society members leaked as who's.
What year is this? 98.
Some Bohemian Grove shit. It's on New York Post.
Yeah. Machine Lies and Eyes and Brown's Boy and Ready to we camp out there every year, man.
Beat your whole butt.
Right. Right. We
go to the Sweat Lodge.
Yeah, we've seen Jack Talcott. We've seen the Powder Dusty over there. We've seen them all over there.
You knew Trump the entire time.
That's funny.
Yeah, we've been trying to warn you guys.
We've been trying to tell you, man.
We've been trying to tell you guys about
this. These fixations occur when an issue in one of the stages remains unresolved, leaving the individual essentially stuck or fixated at that point of development.
See, Max said as a kid, he was tickled, he was stimulated. Yeah. Mm-hmm. As a baby,
to move on to the next, causing them to
fixation.
experience anxiety that would persist into adulthood as a neurosis, a functional mental disorder. The first one is the oral stage,
Here we go.
which
Listen to this,
starts
Joe.
from birth and lasts around a year. The infant's mouth is the focus of libidinal gratification derived from the pleasure of feeding at the mother's breast and from the oral exploration of their environment. In this stage, the id dominates, because neither the ego nor the superego is fully developed, and every action is based upon the pleasure principle. The
Hey,
ego
pause.
is slowly forming as the infant's.
Yo,
I'm curious. Does this throw a wrench into the plan? Most people, at least for a whole generation, were not even raised on a nipple. Know nothing about it.
Of
It would have
course.
been the bottle.
Yep.
So is your sexual fixation on the bottle, or is there mental that you know it has something to do with your mom's nipple and it's still there? Does that throw a wrench in the plan? And the psychology is talking about everybody would have fed off nipples, so his shit would have been solid back then. Now everybody got fucking bottles, and the baby never even seen a real nipple. Does the same psychology even apply anymore?
No, I think it does. I think it does. It's actually, I mean, if I want to get conspiratorial, like the social, quote unquote, social engineers, it's benefiting them. You know, like we're out of whack. The kids are out of whack. Yeah, I know for me, like my mom didn't breastfeed me very much, and like I had probably oral fixation. I like sucked my thumb, like probably like till like first grade or something like that. Like you know, like, and then I took up smoking later on. I don't do that now, but like, so yeah, so who's to say, like, I probably did get some weird tendencies because of that, you know? So yeah.
How can you miss something you never had?
Well, if we're talking about like how like these stages correspond with development, certain like that most humans meet,
you could miss something you never had in that sense.
You may miss it, but like maybe you have like
it'll be a deficit. I'm agreeing with you at this point. Like there's a certain age of development. If you're not hugged and don't get the not sexual sensual touch, but hugs, whatever the fuck, actual physical touch is the word. If you don't get physical touch and you miss that window, you're awkward the rest of your life.
Right, exactly, because you don't feel like you fucking match up with your peers or whatever too, because there's a knowing there that like a lot of them had that shit, and then you didn't have it. This is awkwardness there or whatever.
Make it amplify the awkwardness.
Yeah. I guess one way to rock it, a Freudian or existentialist would say like, actually, that's good. You don't want to be part of the group, right? Like that's one thing that Paul said. Here's Paul right now. He said, "What did he say?" He said, 3 brown, black, gay LARPing actors meeting at the Grove with Jack Delcott. Holy shit!
Yeah, I mean, all I gotta do is run back the old, tapes of Made by Machine Bob, right? Where Paul Enslaved was actually on there with Snafu attacking Flow State. Now they're working and grifting with him, right? So they flip around, they change allegiances. And then they act like we're the crazy ones, right? But it is what it is, right?
That's exactly what it is. Don't do the allegiance shit. It's nonsense. It's just kids being mad at a motherfucker this week.
Right,
There's no allegiances. It's when you catch an attitude at a motherfucker. There was no allegiance to break to start with. It's weird.
Yeah, but I said clearly like 2 years ago, everyone out here is basically an actor. All right, like especially all the people on the panels. All right, there's manufactured drama. There's so on and so forth. I proceeded to show and review it on my show. Right, so most of the groups that we pointed out, they've all copped to it. So they've all said, yes, that is true. That is what's going on.
No, I agree that it happens, and people believe that they actually have a loyalty due to this motherfucker and all of that shit. But I'm saying, and then that encourages them to believe, oh, he broke my loyalty, my trust when he did this and that. But that's all fantasy fiction bullshit that you and him conspired to add together to make you niggas feel comfortable.
You think it was more organic, Joe? You're saying? I
think he was your brother before and after. All of that shit that you added on to it poisoned it and made it worse. In fact, your expectations of him made you mad and disassociate yourself when he broke up. Then your natural state as brothers, you came back to, and you just poisoning it, whatever it is, with all of that the extra bullshit.
The extra conspiracy stuff, but But what the reason I brought up Paul too is I mean that's a funny comment, but like he one thing that stick with me like maybe I don't know like 5 months ago or 6 months ago he kept presenting that whole collectivism like how it's like and a lot of times it's not a good thing, and that goes with this womb metaphor I keep hitting on too about like people are trying to get back in the womb. Like for example, like I don't know if you guys know though, like I went on a Orthodox guy's show like a couple of days ago. It was the first time in like months, and I tell him, bro, like I'm like this shit's stupid with me personally. You know, bury the hatchet. Like you know, like I'm like kind of like I apologize, for calling you out your name. Whatever, like being mean spirited, whatever.
And who does that? Who does that?
I don't know.
Right?
Really,
That?
I won't even call it an L, but like I went up there, and then he was cool though because he was like, let's do it privately. So he told the dudes on the Chuck and Dennison or whatever, like I'll be right back. I'm gonna talk to Gabe offline. So his show was still going on, and we talked just for a quick, to bury the hatchet. It was cool. But the funny thing is though, with that group collectivism, that's some bullshit because when I left, I heard Chuck and Dennison be like, oh, kind of like mocking me for
That's
like
Damon, that bad guy, that doesn't want a chord.
Right. And then like when he came back and he was like, bro, you guys, don't be doing that shit. And he's like, they're like, oh, I don't trust him. Basically, like he's gonna unbury the hatchet or whatever. I'm like, bro, like even if you don't like me, it's like, could I be happy for your friend Orthodox guy that he's getting some peace? He's saying he feels better too. It's like people are fucking weird, bro.
And I think that they're right, but that is the nature of things. For them, the first thing to do is like, he gonna cross you again. He didn't cross you before. You niggas had a spat. It happens. It'll happen again. But it points to something when they should have been trying to heal the situation. Their doctorship, their stewardship sucked at that moment.
Well, exactly. They could have added to it, right? Like, just like here, like Paul, me and Paul, like, I guess we're mending our relationship. What's going on, Paul? How's it going, man?
I thought you niggas was cool.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Just a bit.
I forgot last time you kicked like 8 niggas off the panel. I totally forgot about that shit. You just snapping on that one day.
Yeah, but I'll say this: like last time, right?
Welcome,
like
Paul.
we did the entire show, right? Like we made claims or whatever, right? Then people came up to like defend and say like whatever, like, it was bullshit and whatnot, right? And honestly, they look like fools, and whatnot, right? And then like they honestly couldn't like really dispel anything I said during the whole entire show.
I saw that Proud Boy shit. You killed that shit.
Yeah. So I mean, so this is the thing is like, so I mean, like all of the statements that I've made on the little drama show I've done have been accounted for, definitely.
Yeah.
So I just
looked
wanted
up
more
that shit
detail
myself, so I didn't take your word for it. I was like, yeah, he's got to be wrong here. No, right.
I just wanted to hear more about what Machine Lives was talking about with me and Jim Bob or whatever.
I don't recall that part.
Oh, you're talking about a show called Made by Jim Bob.
Talking about Slow State and me, and then did I misunderstand that or?
Yeah, Timo, can you expand on that?
Yeah. Because what I'm saying is like we could pretend like what Brown's Boy is saying is crazy, but a lot of the shit's been affirmed by the shows we did, has it not? So I'm just saying like we can all pretend like, oh, that's all crazy shit now, but it's not really. So we can say what we want now. People got mad at it for sure. Like like people struck my channel, recently, all right, or whatever, because they got mad at it, all right. But the fact is that. There's nothing in there there's no statements in there that are unaccounted for, right? For sure. I mean, like, it may sound crazy on the surface, but when you look into it, it's not. It's like a lot of things.
Well, that's why I have fun with it, because the claim that objectively everyone's an actor is if there's some kind of panel acting firm, group going on. I love the way that it sounds and comes across, but it's giving a bit more credit, I think, to the situation than just realizing what naturally the beast is, right? Which is
everybody can't be actors. If that's his point, he's right. Everybody,
Yeah,
all these
people will
motherfuckers
just
can't
lie
be
to
paid
themselves and
actors,
each
right?
other,
I think,
or pretend to be something other than what they are to gain something in this life. I mean, all of civilization is like,
I'll
predicated
say
upon
this.
that.
I'll say this.
Go ahead,
There's a
Machine.
network that's reinforced by policy, and most of the people out here, they gain their education through YouTube videos, and they're basically psyoped, right? And
Agreed.
they're reinforcing the narrative that's
100%.
Geared towards algorithms, and
Every
whether they
time
want
you
to
see
admit it or not,
FBI,
whether they want to admit it or
facts right
not,
there.
FBA, Black American, so
You
and
and I,
so.
you and
You've
I
been
have
whether they want to
audited by
admit it
the
or not, they're in a
algorithm.
network. They're in a network. Okay, they collude with people that don't have their best interest in mind. Right. This is what I'm trying to point out. Right. So if you want to continue, if you think there's no problem with that, that's fine.
If you go back before you did that whole series, you will find video of me saying, almost like wringing my hands going, I can't believe what I've been shown by doing this. And I just chalk it up to the cosmic movements, right, of the universe. I don't, phrase
If I
it
could,
as,
Paul, how could you accuse Paul of that psyop shit? He's like the rebellious fuck, right? How
He
could
don't like
he be
anybody.
tricked? Certainly
I'm
not by
kidding.
the government bullshit, right?
I was
he can't stand them
blacklisted by
niggas.
everybody with
How
subscribers
could
for
he be that guy?
outing everyone. For
They've got to
acting and
hate him,
bullshitting.
right?
I'm not accusing anybody, but accusing everybody. Okay, right?
Yeah,
Well,
we
but
all
this is where
yes,
it's, but this is
agreed.
where it's relative, right? Because like through the process of doing a broadcast and wanting to hold people's attention and be entertaining,
Exactly.
you start to go down the road of manufacturing things
Yes.
and
Welcome back, everybody.
No, certain
back to
people.
the show, guys.
No,
Hit
certain
that
people.
like, you fall into
certain
it.
people are linked to are overtly pushing, right? Not only well, they're pushing controlled narratives, but they're also linked to high level producers and things. So I mean, that's not all just made up,
Very
right?
good. No,
So I mean, people that aren't women, right? They're part of a different game. We're playing a different game than people that are linked up. Obviously.
You can say the same thing again. This is why I find it interesting, because if you look at me on paper, you would go, well, that one video that I had that went viral was largely in part due to the Rose 777 situation.
That's right.
Now,
and that's very relevant.
Right.
That's highly relevant.
But let's be clear.
Because everyone's linked to Rose 777.
But let's be clear. This is what quote unquote gatekeepers do. And I'm not saying she is one, but folks get a hold of everybody who's up and coming in order to try to get them some kind of energy and connection so they can potentially influence. That doesn't make everybody who they're involved with guilty, especially if said people later on burn those bridges and go against all that and are the opposite of
I'll
what.
tell you what, you're
Sounds
saying
logical.
everybody's playing the game, but you're including me in that, and I'm not playing any game.
No, I'm not including anyone. I'm just saying that from my perspective, like looking at myself from a third party, I'm saying everything you're saying could be true for me, but having an insider view, I know I'm not on the inside of everything.
Here,
I'm just a
let me
guy.
give you
who-
Paul. Let me give you a recap of kind of what Paul said. A little story. I had a chick who tried to do what it is. She tried to get everybody big coming in and pay them money. You can use my beach house and shit. And when I agreed to go meet the bitch in California, I don't even know where we were meeting. She was like, but we can only get one hotel room. This bitch owned properties everywhere, and she was trying to sleep with me. So I was like, you know what? I'll just go visit some other friends. I'll just bump into you. And she got mad at me. But his point is, everybody, if I'd have took the bread and met her, it don't mean that she opened the door and now I fuck with her somehow. Later on, we could have fell out. I understood his point.
No, I think there's certain topics that Paul talks about on his show, or I may talk about on my show, or Gabriel may talk about on his show, right? Or Joe might perform certain actions on his show against the police state or the militarization of police, or if I talk about police powers, in the technological society, or if Paul speaks against the authoritarian state and so on and so forth. Those are certain things that they don't want people to talk about. I understand that there's a concerted movement around the world, people colluding, right? And most of the people that are part of these networks online, they're not part of the feds. They're actually scared of the feds, right? What they're actually part of is part of private security firms that have contracts with the government. right? So so this is
I like
a
all
fact.
of it.
So
I don't deny that's possible because there is an unknown element that I've always kind of pointed to where I go, what is it about all these folks that you find them all together pushing the same narratives, and it seems to be narratives that are against their own interest unless there is an interest we're not aware of.
Right.
So I have seen
Exactly.
that myself, that these
Right.
folks will at some point, whether they're with you or not, they'll turn on you and go, well, even if we like what you're saying, that can't be a thing and no one can believe it's a thing. Don't listen to
Exactly.
them. And I go, what's that? Like you're promoting me and saying I'm great and saying you want what I'm practicing, but that we can't get it that way because, and I go, yeah,
Because
that's
you
some
want
agency type shit, right?
because you won't change. You these parts that I like, you can keep, and these parts of you I don't like, you got to stop saying.
Yeah.
That's
So
not
I
a
believe.
thing.
Yeah, like they'll say
what I
stuff
believe-
like I've caught all these people, not caught them, but I've connected the dots that all these people at a certain point go, fuck the common law, rights and freedom. That's not a real thing. Don't listen to that. It's bad.
Right.
Just keep begging folks in the system to make things better. And I go, kind of weird that that's where you're settled at, right? That's exactly what the it would want everybody to push as a narrative, right? To
Yeah,
not
but-
actually be involved in creating solutions.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that people
I
who are
Way to stay on topic,
attached,
Paul.
right? Like people who are attached to people like Owen Benjamin or Andrew Wilson, right, or Nick Fuentes, right, or or Alex Stein, right, who have big media connections, right?
Yeah.
See, this is the thing, right? And they're have huge networks of people that could potentially collude and do all of these types of things. And they're also basically running like Fed talking points, right? Like through the media, like the same stuff you see on Fox News,
100%.
right? The same
Correct.
stuff you see on like all of those channels, right? And they're doing it on purpose to gain in the algorithm and so on and
Of
so
course.
forth. So what I'm saying is that I am in a concerted effort against those types of people. It just is what it is.
Yeah, I have
100%
been as
you are,
well,
yes.
and it could be argued that I've narrowed my ability to succeed in these venues greatly by proclaiming that for years. Especially
Of course
at the
you
height
have.
of, yeah, because I know that I've had it confirmed to me that these people know who I am and watch me or aware of what I do, and they act like they don't know me and they won't deal with me beyond a certain point. So
You're
I go, well,
stuck.
what's that about?
Yeah, you're stuck at a certain level of growth, and so is Joe Cool, and so am I. Right?
I wouldn't say that shit. I ain't dropped a video in 6-8 months or something. But when I drop, the people come. I think I don't know, man. I'm a cop watcher, and the cop watchers don't get 140,000 subs. That's not a thing. We're boring, right? The auditors that go inside and get the cameras, they're the ones that get hundreds of thousands of subs. I don't know what
I
it is.
personally enjoy watching the cop body cams now more than anything.
Oh,
We're
me
gonna
too.
watch that type of stuff. Yeah,
Me too.
yeah. Well, on that tip, what do you think? What do you guys think about that? As people that deal with the police, like this whole niche of cop body cams. Do you think that's good for your movements, or bad or neutral? What do you guys think about that?
Crucial for my shit is obviously crucial, necessary. You can get the alarmist that says that it could be used to dox a dying patient or something, but then you'd have to weigh that up against all the positive pre-camera. They put their hands on us here. And before a person was had the courage to pick up a camera, everybody had them in their pocket, but no one would point them at the police. They were vicious still. It's like it saves lives, from being ruined, if not ended. The positives and where in my life is everybody who's been fired, all these judges, all these corrupt things that we've halted continue. All of these people now who know their rights. So I don't have to ID you. I don't have to do that if I forget. That's all because of the fucking camera. It's endlessly been a tool of us. No, but the body cam would go along with our iPhones and shit at that point. It wouldn't be just a body cam, but that shit don't come unless I pull up an iPhone. The body cam is not as powerful as it is when fucking the civil rights lawyer plays it. It's because I did what I did, where now people understand the significance of what they're looking at.
Yeah, it's pivotal. I mean, the idea of now everybody potentially being held accountable by that record is a pivotal sort of position, I believe, on the whole, to be at, right? Like, you can imagine how many folks, I mean, they're lying and planting shit on camera at this point. You can imagine at one point how much corruption was going on when there was no record, right? I mean, you know, they'll cut videos off now and say that we don't know what happened. So
Hey, Paul, with your
I think
movement,
it should be the I think it should be the next level that these cops shouldn't be able to make a move without judicial approval before they make a judicial determination, because they're not trained to know the law.
100% constitutional. They should have made a judicial determination. Went and talked to 8 professionals and lawyers and shit before they even stop your movement, before they even say you're detained. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
with body cam, Paul, how's it help your situation? And TML, I don't think body cam affects you at all.
What do you mean?
That was Gabe's questions. Was police body cam? Does body cam helping you guys' endeavors? Obviously, mine. I'm not sure about you and Paul yet.
I mean, they've lied on every police report I've seen that they've made about me.
Very good.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
now, you can't take that personally. You have to understand that's part of a professional trade secrets and just regular, general process, right?
That's good. No, that's good police.
Yeah, that's good police work. There you go.
That's good police work.
That's
right.
I've resisted arrest for more than 30 minutes one day, and I got beat up for a long time. And
body cam would have certainly helped then.
Bro, that's what I think the ultimate. I mean, that's a shame machine. That's fucked up. I would say the ultimate.
It was fine. I couldn't actually feel it for a long time, so it is what it is.
You couldn't feel it.
Yeah, I had like a lot of adrenaline. I was really angry.
Okay, but you're like a Novocaine or something. But the ultimate OG police cop watching is that Rodney King video, man. And it's so crazy that I don't even know who filmed it, but I know the video.
Right.
You know what I mean? Does it matter who filmed it? No.
You know the most incredible. I shouldn't say the most. Some of the most incredible shit about that. I do too. Some of the most incredible shit about that is the way when people saw it, it was like the most horrendous thing ever. But after a while, people were like, "Yeah, he didn't lay down and like they asked him to, and that justified it. That was like worth it to me just to see the level of coke people are doing, how hard my job is gonna be because these people are fucking.
You know what it would have been the way they do TikTok videos now. Shit, it's like where they would have had the beating, they would have had a split screen of his face. Remember, his face was horrible, bro. He looked all swollen and shit. Like so.
Yeah. And they let the cops off. I don't know if you remember. They let the
I remember. That's what we had the riots. The riots, yeah.
That's crazy. And people were like on the news saying like, "Well, yes, well, he had to keep striking him because he never put his hands behind his back." Yeah, and they thought that was gonna fly.
But I remember one of the narratives that the bootlickers were pushing was he's high on PCP.
Yes. How strong they are.
Kind of like Floyd with the fentanyl, right?
Yeah, he's black and PCP. Any suburbanites into.
Can you imagine LeBron James on PCP because all black people are athletic? Can you imagine Michael Jordan on PCE? That's what it's like. PCP.
You gotta understand that we got to stop the blacks on PCP now before it gets out of hand, right?
You know how athletic they are.
You got to break some eggs to make an omelet.
Yeah. The whole shit was crazy because I'm on this super ego womb metaphor kick right now, and the fact that like, yes, it brought people together to look like, oh, look at the police doing this, but then the riots, they pulled out like a Reginald Denning, the white dude, just bringing fucking goods to the hood in his truck or whatever, and then they killed him off the mob mentality. That's one of the most dangerous things, the mob mentality thinking.
Yeah.
Well, that's another left-wing, right-wing deception, right?
Collectivism, that shit, right?
The right-wingers push the authoritarianism, and then the left-wingers push the racism and the classism to get you on both sides, right? So instead of them going against authoritarianism, they made it about colorism.
Yeah. And that's the dangers. I hate to follow some race shit with some race shit, but that's the dangers of having all these white liberal leaders for black motherfuckers. They're telling you that guy's a Nazi, and you fucking following and believing that shit.
Yeah. The liberal is the one in the wolf in sheep's clothing, Malcolm said, right?
Yeah, that type of shit.
Yeah. Let me see what your thoughts on this stuff, guys.
Starts to develop.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate you.
A body image and delay gratification. Weaning, or the process of gradually withdrawing the infant's supply of its mother's milk and introducing it to another diet, makes the infant lose the physical intimacy with their mother. This increases the infant's self-awareness that they do not control the environment and thus learn of delayed gratification. Issues during this stage may cause the infant to develop an oral fixation during their life, characterized by immaturity, passivity, and unrealistic optimism. The second stage.
Hey, I mean, I can fucking no breastfeeding, Gabriel. I can see those things playing out.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, without pointing out the psychosexual stages, because I think that's fake. I think the whole oral fixation thing is just fake. But I think that the loss of intimacy is a fact. When they're put on Similac or or something else, right? They've noticed that those kids have a different psychological disposition.
That is interesting as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like more loners, like kids who got put on Similac.
Yeah, it's wild here in Taiwan because I would assume most of the 2-parent households are working, and these are kids in the academy I work at, like they're upper middle class to middle class, right? And I have to say, bro, like when we're in America, teachers not around, like the kids will be talking to each other and all this. A lot of times, bro, like they just sit in their fucking desk like loner shit. Now there's some that definitely do the American style, gregarious and like talking shit, all that shit. But like most of them are like in their own world. It's wild, bro. I wonder if it is
tablets.
That too, huh? The tablets for sure.
Yeah, they found out.
I think there's something there, Markella. If you're interested in addressing it, she's writing about the police and her closeness to them and how folks judge them. And
I think that her husband's a police officer, and she's done. I think she was involved in law enforcement. I think that anyone in law enforcement needs to wear body. Yeah, for sure. And then Buddha said, "I never understood auditing culture." All that stuff. To be honest,
I got to get Markella shit. You stay quiet because of your closeness, and that means that you have the knowledge and shit that other people don't. You should be the most voiceful one, Markella, in my opinion.
I feel that people judge every person in law enforcement bad. Yeah, a lot of people do.
Well, that's why you really stay quiet, Markella. It's not because of your closeness. It's because you got a tug, and those people make you face that some of the contradictions that you don't want to face.
Yeah. Well, I think also too is out of respect to me. It's that she doesn't like when you guys come up because she knows how you guys feel. She doesn't want to rock the boat, especially as number one mod, like as a mod. She don't want to.
Feasible, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know how she would talk. Maybe it'd be different if on outside of this space, probably be different, much more vocal. Because I've had conversations with her about that shit too.
A lot of people though married a cop or cop in the family and all of that stuff, and they all have that tendency. Where they rather just keep out. The most time when you get something out of them is when they explode. They've been holding stuff in and they enrage it out a bit. That's how you get most of your information. That's how you even find out that my brother's a cop and he's been there for 20 good years, rather than just talking to you normal to begin with.
Now she's still definitely even keel. However, like her allegiance do come out. Like I had a conversation with her last week. And Wiccan and Mel Pandora offline, and like we were reviewing that nurse got killed. That dude. You remember that?
Freddie.
Yeah, where that dude took the gun, the cop allegedly, and kind of took it without saying nothing, the gun away, whatever.
Alex Preddy, I think his name.
Yeah, and she definitely was looking at it from the the law enforcement point of view. I guess you could say supporter.
And that's we need that. Don't feel mad when we beat up on you, or really we just having a different opinion and holding you to it or whatever the fuck. But we need that bad, man. That's I don't know why I need that.
Well, like Shadow Buddha's like me, is I don't really understand the auditing culture. I I do respect the fact that you guys have passion for it and you do seem to be making, good out of it. But like me, I'm like, I wouldn't call I'm definitely not a bootlicker to the police or whatever. But like living in the hood for so many years, I remember I'm like, it got to a point as I got older, I'm like, I was happy to see the police because the shit was so fucked up from the non-police. The shit happened in the neighborhood. Now, don't get me wrong, if they were to stop me being me, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, how dare you? Like, I'm not doing anything really. But they don't even really stop me, so maybe it's me just being selfish or what. But like,
yeah, I think I was about.
They're not an issue. It's not an issue to me really that much. But you think that's a problem, Paul, and then Joe? That fact that more people don't stand up, and until more people don't,
any human being that doesn't consider the right and wrong in their actions and follows orders cannot be a conscient, able human being, and therefore cannot be a good person. So it's really not up for debate. If you force thousands of policies on your fellow man or woman on the land known as America, that is literally anti-American process, there is no way that you could be a good person or aligned with goodness.
If you were a kid, I'm just going
to
agree with Paul. Or respond to what you said. I was going to say something similar. When you were a kid, you lived in the hood and you saw a cop and it made you happy. Okay, I get it. An instinctive response.
No, like when I'm an adult. I didn't like the cops when I was younger. Hell no, because I was doing shit allegedly.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Whenever the story occurred, when
I'm a
you saw the
respectable
cops,
citizen now.
because you lived in the hood, when you saw the cops, it made you feel better. Okay, I give you that moment. But my next question would be: at some point, you got to recognize that that's just cope and feelings, and you have to examine it. And you're going to come to the conclusion that this guy, unless I'm super selfish because he doesn't hurt me, hurts motherfuckers all the time. He's a bad guy inherently, all the contradictions and all the negative shit. At some point, you need to consider that and come to a conclusion if you're going to be a man and face shit.
Well, I can consider that definitely, but I don't think that makes me any less of a man for thinking that, bro. Like, who are you?
No. I said, can you face it and come to conclusions? You haven't done the latter, the second part there.
My thing is like, I'm concentrating on like the times that I'm not being I'm being a bad man to myself from the way I talk to myself, from the way I don't always stay healthy or be consistent with my health regimen, like exercising and stuff like that. Like, and my thing is like, how can anyone call anyone like, they're less of a man or a slave when most people, they don't even take care of their first principles. So I think there's other priorities than the police. Well, that's me. Yeah.
Well, my response, I was trying to leave room for Paul there. But the same way that you take care of your wife, you manage to take care of other responsibilities, like your kid and your students and your students and whatever friends. You must learn to do multiple things at one time. You learning about the cops and examining, taking a moment to examine whether they're bad or good doesn't mean you'll be a neglectful dad. To act like it does is not good.
I don't though, and I do. Like I come even here, bro. If I see a cop being bullied to somebody, I'll go up and talk to him because I know that like I may not be from here, but I carry weight in how people see me in the sense that like as an authority figure in the community. Like if I see some cop being rude to somebody for parking their scooter, on the fucking where everyone else is parking their scooter on on the sidewalk over here, I'll go up to him like, bro, like what are you doing? And
that's outside wait, please. That's outside of my point. You didn't respond to my point. You're talking about what you're doing. I'm sure you was. My point was, have you reached and thought about are these people bad guys or not? Have you taken the time to do that?
But I think everyone's bad and good. Yeah. I mean, that's such a thing to say, like someone's like, just because they're a cop, they're bad. I mean, there's so many other factors going on.
Let me ask
you,
a human being. A hitman, probably a bad guy, right? A thief.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Carjacker. By the title, some
there's
things
nuances
are inherent.
And shit.
There are nuances, and it won't change.
Unless you're like a serial psychopath killer.
Yes, killers, period, probably a bad thing. Certain things inherently, politician, you can say these guys are bad, at least on some level, because They agree to
Oh
lie.
yeah, for sure.
They agree to
For
lie.
sure.
And it's part of the game. You should understand it's just politics. That is an agreed upon lie. And you got to recognize that. When you sign a contract to become a mechanic, you got to learn to wrench. When you become a cop, you got to learn to rob people.
How many
That
times
shit's
has
not
Joe Cool or
subjective.
I talked to a cop and the cop admitted that they agree with us, they know what we're saying is right, but they're paid to do what none of us agree with, that we all know is wrong, okay?
Endless.
That is the definition of a bad person. And if we can address Markella's comment down there, she has it exactly.
That's a bad action with a person, and
very
as a
good. I
whole,
like that. I like
we're
that
very
distinction, Dave.
the
Yeah.
human beings. There's a lot going on, bro. So what did you say? When you want to see this one? Which one?
Yeah, it's a perfect projection of the opposite dynamic that's taking place right here, and this is exactly why I'm so fascinated and entertained by these perspectives. But to be honest, Paul, I get bad vibes from you when it comes to law enforcement, because I feel that you feel you are above the law. No, that's them. The law of the land is freedom from search and seizure, pursuit of happiness, private property, and ability to carry a gun that shall not be infringed. Police officers put on a uniform every day and violate the Constitution, which is a codification of the spirit of the law of the land. I don't do that. I don't
that's a
interfere with
little
people's
bit
property and rights. So that's literally them, while you're saying it's me, and you're going off your feelings, appeal to authority and emotion to do it, rather than appeal to the facts of the matter of process that goes on all day, every day, and has happened to me and many others. And it's only because I know the law that I'm still here talking to you, because I'd already be locked the fuck down somewhere and held political prisoner.
Yeah, that's the problem that I've seen, is that the police don't really obey the law that they uphold. You know,
it's double standard for sure.
Yeah,
The first sign of an occupying force is they refuse to obey the same laws they enforce.
It's sad to say, I think most of people would do that, even cop washers and auditors.
I want to make
doesn't make it
Paul's
right
point
though.
again.
If they had the same position. I'm just saying if most people had the same position, they probably do that too. It doesn't make it right. That's I'm just being a pragmatist, I guess.
Yeah.
Man, the whole world is it ain't gonna ever be a utopian society, man.
We agree. I want to beat Paul's point home a little bit more. Just the part about the law. The law, Markella, it's the law. If you go by the Constitution, which is what Paul was going, it says that you got the right to bear arms and all of these things. Then they make another law that say you don't, and then they'll make a federal law that says you can't, and all of those things. When you're talking about Paul, you don't think he wants to follow the law. Which law is he supposed to hop from foot to foot? Right, and I can smoke weed here, but over there I can't smoke it in Ohio because it's illegal. No, it's federally illegal. Oh, so I can't smoke weed at all. Which law?
Sit down, no mask. Stand up, mask. 6 feet apart, 5 feet.
Right.
This is the point. Is you're telling me I think I'm above the law when you and others don't know the law, including folks who suit up every day to enforce the law. And I've had them on camera tell me many times they don't know the law. They're not law professors, and they're just going to arrest you, and you can tell it to the judge.
I've had them tell me that, yes, I agree this is wrong, Joe, but you got to talk to my bosses, and get them in line.
It sounds like parents, why are you punishing me? Don't worry about it. Just take the punishment. This is super ego. Shadow Buddha says, what is the obsession with auditing culture? I don't get it. I'd rather live in the practical world with real responsibilities. If that makes me a slave, quote unquote, then I can care less.
Never makes you a slave. Yes, absolutely. It makes you a slave.
Yeah. Straight up just
yes,
I don't see the correlation between a practical world and real responsibilities and authoritarianism and statism. I don't see the correlation.
I think practical world he's resonating with the fact that just going through your day without any hassles.
No. I think he's saying I want the steak. I know it's not real, but it tastes good. That makes him a slave.
And that makes no sense.
It's kind of weird. You guys call people slaves and shit when most of you guys, including me, I'll put it we're a slave to our appetites, all kinds.
You're a slave in that moment, and we'll admit it. Why won't he admit this? No,
you're better than everybody.
No, in that moment, I
That's
am a
fine
slave
though.
to
That's your
this.
prerogative. Maybe you are. I don't know. But this sounds goofy a little bit.
Yeah, it's not an us versus them idea, right? The idea of bondage or vice extends
Strong
from the
word.
inside of oneself to the external world of oneself, right? It's not a this or that proposition, but you know, if you say a practical world means a world of convenience without hassle,
There you
well,
go.
then that's not real responsibility. So you've contradicted yourself in the same sentence and statement, right?
Agree.
Could we say, will it be a more right and exact? I would rather live in a simulated practical world with real simulated responsibilities.
No, the real statement is you'd rather go back to a womb where you can be kept safe all day, every day without true accountability, responsibility. That's the actuality of the subpsychology.
Yes,
Okay.
everyone who
So
says
womb.
follow the law, it means entrust everything to another man. And
Thanks,
the
machine.
reason the auditing community, what's so it ain't just auditing, it's activism, period. But since you said auditing, the culture, what people get is that someone is not only smart enough and wise enough to see the flaws in the system. The second step is crazy. Is to go against it and try to actually change this behemoth, this perceived behemoth. Niggas like you, Booty, you sit at home and be like, oh my God, that nigga scary. You can't change anything. You're gonna make it worse for all of us. Right? It's two niggas, two different types of niggas.
I'd be like, nah, Joe Cool, you're getting away from that cop from helping that kid that got hit by the motorcycle. That got hit by the motorcycle with your camera, bro.
Yeah, that's a 1 out of a million scenario, right? So it happens so infrequently they have to plaster it from, you know, one side of the screen to the other. So 9 out of 10 times, that's not what policy enforcement is doing all day, every day, is saving women and children. So let's cut the cope and the lies to ourselves.
Bullshit. I ain't got none of that on tape.
Speaking of cope, keeping the cope, would you say that most cop watchers, especially the passionate one and auditors, is because they had really bad experiences with police or in jail or in prison?
Or someone
you could go back earlier than that. Potentially really bad experiences with their parents, their teachers, and every other would-be wannabe authoritarian dictator in their life.
Bully.
Who
Yeah.
thinks they know better than the individual.
And when a motherfucker stand up and say, hey, I'm gonna question that shit. I don't give a fuck if it's a clerk at the post office. Motherfuckers, some niggas lose their mind. And it's an overreaction to a small thing. No, ma'am, you are supposed to give me the form. Why is he still there? Why is he videotaping? Why are you so fucking in your feelings about a thing? It should point to something. You should be like, I gotta fix myself. This is a natural interaction, and I'm ready to call the police on a nigga and hope he goes to jail. I'm broken. That's the fuck you supposed to say.
Yeah. But do you understand why they don't, though? Like, I mean, yeah, man. I get it. A new guru says,
invested in it, yeah.
Right. Man's law is fantasy, and obedience is fake virtue. Evening, folks.
Yes, it is. Suddenly it's virtuous. To your country says, get rid of all these people. We got to protect our country. So we're going to bomb someone who's never even been over here to protect us.
You just watched both sides of the political sphere lock a whole world down and cause unprecedented inflation that's potentially going to lead to an economic collapse and planned restructuring. And the arm of that apparatus of that state is literally policy enforcement. And it's still up for grabs whether or not these people are amoral.
Bad guys or not.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know by now, you will never, ever, ever know.
Well, I mean, like, I don't think anybody in this panel thinks that. I know I don't. Like, come on,
I'm
man.
speaking potentially to Markella, and she's saying that I'm mad at her. I'm mad for her that her and many others have been deceived so deeply that they're literally saying the opposite of what it actually is.
That's a nice way to put it.
I got a lot. I've got a lot of videos and stuff. Not only my friends got a lot. You know what we don't see on them vids? Cops saving babies from burning buildings. You know, that's not really what they do, right? I hear the story in the news. I'm not doubting that it happens, but you know what I see on a day-to-day policy enforcers. You can't stand over there. You're gonna go to jail for that. You know. Oh,
yeah. I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, most of them are kind of like just glorified taxi cab drivers for the state.
Yes, high-paid taxi drivers. Yeah, it's
funny.
But I mean, what most people are doing to try to change the system, right, isn't really better, right? First of all, it's not effective, right? And then second of all, a lot of the solutions are worse than the problems. And then there's also like sort of accelerationists who want to break down the system. See, like we talk about like Uncle Teddy, like on the show and stuff. But the thing is that nobody is trying to apply those to try to talk about like how we should use it to break down the system, right? Because that's accelerationism, right? You want to sort of frame it in a way that you could use it to look at the weak points of society and improve society, right?
Right. Well, I make a point to not do that because I see that's the swing back of the pendulum, right? I try to meet folks in the middle. If you want policy enforcement, they need to adhere to the actual spirit of the law and the law of this land, and they need to uphold everybody's rights instead of interfering with rights to supposedly keep everyone safe. That's not their original mission statement, and it's gone horribly, right?
Yeah,
So again,
for the
pursuit
sake
of
of money.
happiness, as far as Markel is speaking about, covers the usage of plants and herbs and drugs. So every man and woman on America especially has the right under God to pursue their happiness how they please. And if you try to put someone in a box for changing their consciousness, you are in fact involved in tyranny, treason, and corruption.
Here, if I can, I know this sounds crazy, Markel, and probably a few more of you, but let's say they decide that cheeseburger is illegal. It's not good for you. Do you follow that law? You know what? Too much salt, we found out, is not good. Sugar makes you fat. It's just because it's a law and another man decides it's virtuous for me to adhere to what that guy created. It makes
We
no
don't
sense.
have to do hypotheticals, Joe. We just did 5 years of the air is scary. Now we're going to write up code and everybody has to adhere to it. And if not, you're going to be exiled to an extent, right? You're going to have your livelihood threatened. You're going to be threatened with potential incarceration. I went to jail a couple times for not following their policies, which were antithetical to the actual law of
I
this
got
land.
threatened and thrown out of buildings for not following their policy.
Okay. And New Guru says, just shut up and obey so we don't get whooped as hard. Maybe they'll give us some lube or something to hemorrhage it. Whatever. I live my life. I mean, I don't fucking deal with police and shit. So
that's not something that you should be fucking honorable, bragging on. Right?
Why not? Why not?
Because if you've come to the conclusion, which I am accusing you of avoiding, you and others, that these people are doing harm, you wouldn't let somebody keep robbing your neighbor house and sit at home and say,
"Come on, bro, you're being overly dramatic, bro." Like
I'm
in the
not.
sense,
I'm apparently I'm going here
let me talk, bro. Let me talk respectfully. Like I'm not an idiot, bro. In the sense that, like, I know that the system is fucked. That's if anything, the machine route is interesting to me because no matter if you beg for them or protest or whatever or one knee, like the system is what's fucked up, bro. And like all this other shit is like being like slap boxing on the street. It's like patty cake in a sense. You ain't really doing that much of a mark. And so it's like, if you really want to do something, like hit the system. And so my thing is like, so I'm not doing that. But I'm not going to waste my time on like protesting and all that.
No one's suggesting you waste your time. You tell me.
But you think I don't think that these people aren't like. You assume that I'm like, oh, these people like wonderful. I don't think any of them are wonderful. I don't think any of you are.
I'm telling you what I want to know. What are your actions to combat this negative thing that you see? They don't have to do what I do.
I'm trying to live a righteous life, bro. Like
that's going to combat the evil police.
Oh yeah, it will be. It will be because like I'm not even in there. It's not even in the. We're not even the same. We don't even resonate the same like spaces and shit, bro.
Then it's probably not going to combat them. That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's what you're for, bro. That's what you're here for. I'm here to do my work. You're here to do your work, man.
Your work is God's work.
For me, listen,
bad guy. Because he wears the bad, you shouldn't ignore him.
And for me to like say like how you do your work, critique it, that's not my business. Just like for you don't know what the fuck I do, yet you can call me like not a man or a slave, whatever the fuck you said, bro. like you don't know. Like I my thing is like, I'll let you do what you do, let me do what I do. But to call a person outside their name just because they don't fucking put a camera in the police's face, that's weirdo shit, bro.
Hey, listen,
I don't co-sign on any of that shit.
I don't think it's about putting a camera in the police's face.
That's all I heard in all of that shit. and all of the things you accuse me of, I am not even saying that you don't do it.
Sound
You
like to
don't
me.
understand. I know it sounds like, because I can tell, because if I throwing up that word slave gets you outside of your body. So I can tell that it sounds like and it feels like and all of that shit. But objectively, under God, I think I can say that, and I believe you are, I'm sure you're under God, you must fight evil. And I know Gabriel, he will fight it in
For
all
sure.
ways. And authority has a
That shit's
way
below my
of
pay
keeping
grade.
us from not fighting that from him. But just because he has authority, badge, judge, or whatever, that evil guy, we won't touch because we're afraid of him. We should acknowledge that.
Yeah. I'm a listed man. Maybe what they all doing is like unlisted man. That's below my pay grade, bro. I'm on some other shit, bro. But I'm not talking shit about you
TML is
guys.
fighting these niggas too, right? TML ain't
Yeah.
picked up no camera, and he is killing them. They just killed his channel cause he in their ass. So
Yeah, but it's funny like how you give him props, but then like, just because I disagree in a sense of like, I mean, I don't do what you do. Like I'm less. I'm less of a
We
person.
just have to acknowledge, I think, the general fact that if you don't support a certain understanding and practice it when you can, that at some point everybody's going to be overrun with this thing we didn't address, right? This is as cliche as it gets. If we don't stand for what's right together at a certain point, well, then they come for everyone individually, and at a certain point, there's no one left to stand. That's what inevitably
I don't stand
happens.
for what don't I stand for? Well, that's right. You tell
Fighting
me
the
how
bad
I'm not being. I'm not being specific. And again,
I'll be
I'm
specific.
No, that's Joe
Fighting
then.
the
I'm
bad
like,
guy.
how should I fight the bad guy? Like you?
You tell me. I don't know your
No. I mean, I do. I don't agree with what they do, bro. I don't agree with what they do. I just don't make a video about it.
I granted you that you don't agree, but I'm wondering how you fight. And it ain't just got to be the cops. I'm sure you fight in other areas. What is this aversion to the cops?
I try to, dude. I'm treading lightly in life. I'm not, I'm not trying to fucking make more unwanted and necessarily like toxic shit. Like, you know what I mean?
I don't do toxic shit, but I understand the
it's simple, bro. You want to make things complex and shit. Yeah. Not only that, not just you, everyone's mind, bro. Anyone that's like all sentient beings are we're all in this together, bro. It's not just I'm not just like it's just me and my family. No, man. That like these people are my peers too. I interact with in this collective of the
100%.
world or whatever. So it's like everyone I come across, bro. I try to give them more smiles than frowns, bro. Keep it simple, man.
I know you well enough to know when a nigga makes a faux pas on a panel, you correct him. How dare you do that? That's not right. This is what you should have did. And it ain't always fiery. It's more often the good advice. No, I think that's not the right way. You should have done it, Joe. This would have been a better way. You fight evil in every shape and form. I know that. When it comes to cops, you put up blinders or
no, I
judges.
don't. No, come on, bro. Now you're putting. I didn't say that, and I don't think like that, bro. You speak. That's what's weirdo. That's what I. That's what I say when Tommy says like, "I'm right here. Why are you speaking from me?" I don't put up blinders. I see what's going on. I just, you know what I mean?
I'm accusing you of not seeing a thing. So yes, I see it. Yeah,
I see the shit, bro.
All right, I think
I'm a life path 9. I've seen everything almost there is to see. I just don't speak on it.
That's the problem. You speak on everything else.
I speak to those who are fucking ready to hear it.
I'm ready to hear you shit on cops.
I mean, like I have. I mean, what do you mean? Like they travel an untrue way of being, bro. Just like everyone else. It just sucks that they have a lot of power. They can hurt people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So like it's like common sense. That's why I say that's why you're here for, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. We all got different roots. That's why I love TML and Paul so much.
And like what Chad Buddha said right here, he said, when I say practical, I mean having responsibilities while taking care of family and working an occupation rather than confronting blue everyday people. That's how he's making his mark. Like, bro, this man works like 10 hours a day. He takes. Hold on, I'm talking respectfully. my brother right now, like what he does, give him his flowers, bro. Like he takes care of his mom and his sister and his niece and shit. When he doesn't, you know, he's doing like real grown man shit, bro. Like so, it ain't like just because we don't. I hold on, let me land my plane, man. Like so, it's like just because we don't go and
That'd be nice, bro.
Nigga, shut the fuck up, bro. You're weird. God damn, bro. You gotta get to the last word. All the time, bro. You fuck up my whole fucking No, bro. I'm tired of relaxing. This is why, bro, like I'm just trying to talk. I barely even talk, and this motherfucker won't shut the fuck up.
You'll be all right.
It's only the now.
God damn. That's why, motherfucker, I don't give fuck, man. Why the fuck do I kick it with you guys? You're fucking dumbasses, a lot of you guys. I fucking give a lot of my time. That's why me and Shadow Buddha, all you guys are fucking idiots. Maybe not machine lives. I don't know, bro. You just got me in the way, bro. Fuck you, bro. Shut the fuck up. I don't even know what I was trying to say, bro. Fuck. God damn. Bro, we all have our own battles, bro. Like I support you guys what you do. I just think it's weird that how you can just call someone a slave or not a man just because we don't fight the cops like y'all said.
You're putting words in my mouth.
Cool. Paul didn't say that maybe, but like
you're putting words. I'm not saying you're not a man just because you don't fight the cops. My accusation was that you ignore how bad they are. And in that moment when I was making that claim, it was like, Marcella was saying, well, I don't really, address them. And I thought you was co-signing that shit. And Buddha, I mind my own business. So I was throwing all three of y'all in there with, you must fight them all.
All right. No, I don't co-sign. Maybe, probably by listen to you guys, I probably would go to, try to think about more things I can do to do that shit, right? I mean, you always can make time for something for sure, but like, I don't co-sign on like tyrannical behavior and all that shit.
I know you.
Maybe I don't do that shit, but maybe you guys would think like because I don't actively go out, that's contributing. Yeah, I can see that way too, but I don't co-sign on that fucked up.
I was
anybody else.
In the mentality of it, I hadn't gone at what you could or should do. You know yourself better. You know your tools. You know how to be effective if you so choose. I was just going on. You can tell by what a person, the way they thinks and what they talk. I was judging a state of mind or something, which is probably just as bad thing to do. But and I'm not attributing this to you, but to give an extreme example of it is when a person sees the petty shit and says he should have never resisted that cop. I was accusing anybody who says, "Oh man, the cop." I'm putting you more along, and you're not even. You're way smarter than this, even. The cop's just doing his job. That's Markella. He's had a hard day too. He's just human.
That's true, but that doesn't excuse bad behavior, right?
But
that's what it's an attempt to do is to be an apologist and make excuses for immoral or amoral behavior, right? And this idea that well, that's just the way that it is, and we all want an easy, comfortable, practical life. And with that attitude, that's how we get more and more enslaved historically, right? I mean, that's the only point that I was making is that Shadow Buddha and others will say, well, I don't want to be out every day confronting blue uniforms. If you're being honest with yourself, you will answer that you will never confront anyone in an authoritarian position because you're afraid of what's going to happen to you. That's precisely the problem, is that you will keep avoiding confronting people in a position of supposed power who are misusing their power to enslave and genocide. And if you're not going to do it after what we just witnessed for 5 years, you're probably never going to do it. And the reason is obvious, because you're scared. And I know that because I know me. And I'm not saying I'm not subject to that dynamic. I am. And I grapple with it regularly. And I've been honest about it more recently, taking a step back from it because health issues and whatever else, I've gotten to a point where I just want to live a peaceful, everyday life, right? And live like everybody else.
Hell yeah.
But the other side of me has to confront that doing what I was doing on some level, I believe is God's will or God's work, and that I was given blessings from it. And by giving that up, I'm giving up true purpose for all of us to an extent. Because why? I just want a comfortable life and I want convenience. And that is cowardice. And I'm only saying that because I know it lives within me, right? I'm just being real about it. And I think that's what a lot of folks here are attempting to do, is distance themselves from the cowardice that lives within them and make excuses for it. And excuses for others who are involved in wrongdoing who are not being questioned or checked.
Do you see cowardice in your life? But besides, well, actually, you don't have cowardice with the police.
Absolutely, it's what's given way to my passionate presentment many times, and my inspiration is self-reflection and having to admit to myself in many ways I am in bondage and vice, and I am weak and cowardly, and I do need to practice discipline and upholding the idea of rights and freedom, but also using that freedom responsibly, because those things go hand in hand.
I have cowardice in the moment. My whole cop watching shit. I was fearful as a bitch. If you watch my earlier vids, I'm walking up, you'll hear me saying, you niggas ain't gods. That's my cowardice. And I'm trying to overcome it in that moment. You know, I know I'm afraid, but I'm going to walk in this fucking police station and I'm charging myself up. But that was cowardice, and that was me fighting, overcoming every fucking time. When I like now, the police ain't so scary, but the fucking who was that? The Secret Service scared the shit out of me. They brought the dog to sniff for bombs and all that shit. You know, I got a half pound of weed, all it, and then they circled my car and shit. I got afraid. The fucking judges and shit. I still got that fear, right? No matter how much I tell myself before I walk in there, I still feel it.
Would you say the most fear you have is you guys is having a 9-to-5 job or being put in a situation where
that'd be a big one? But my hustle has always outperformed anybody 9-to-5 job. I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning hustling, so it's not. I don't fear doing the work, but I do fear the being even a person believing they subjective. I wouldn't have a problem with it if my boss understood that it's just a person and we're just doing a function. Supervisor doesn't really mean you're smarter or better. I have a problem with niggas who
know that
authority.
So let's make the distinction, right? Shadow Buddha writes, if I'm taking care of my family and working 10 to 12 hours a day makes me a slave, then I'm proud of it. Nobody said that. That's in a way admirable to sacrifice your time, energy, and attention to produce for your community and for those who you're responsible to. Now, where the slavery comes in is when somebody steps up and immediately tells you they're going to take 40% of what you just made and give it to Israel and Ukraine. Right?
Right. And you can
build Epstein Island.
And yes, and you can say, you know, I'm against it, but I'm going to give it to you because you're going to whoop my ass. But you're a slave when you start saying, well, it was justified because we need to, and start spitting their lines that they taught you to spit.
Massa had to build the roads. We got to plow the field for them.
Joe? Who's going to build the road?
Right. And then you take a position against folks like me and Joe, who are literally potentially modern day patriots, and you go antithetical to American spiritual
100%,
presentment and
law. Who is going to build the roads though if there's no taxes? In this system, who is going to build the roads if people don't pay taxes?
Who built them before taxes didn't come along to 1913?
No. Yeah, okay, but I'm talking about now. Be realistic in the sense the way we're doing shit right now.
We got along without taxes 2026, bro. I'm just saying we know it's a way to do it.
Until that system is set up again and retrofitted again. Bro. Yes, Paul, it's that important. Go ahead.
Yeah,
you have the call.
Well, hey, listen, you got us engaged. You should be happy and excited that you have us engaged and locked in and passionate and exchanging. But you know, the reality of it is we live in a fractional reserve system where we're using, you know, debt-based non-currency legal tender, which is printed up ad infinitum to discharge debt. You can't actually pay a bill. So this notion that we have to be controlled and give away 40% of what we create in order to create value somewhere else to put toward the roads is just absurd. I mean, all day, every day, banks are taking $1 and creating 10 out of thin air and then appropriating that.
Yeah, but I'm being realistic in the sense that like this is what we're dealing with right now, and until that system, the new system is set up, and like we can actually see it and put our hands around it, like a scaffolding, you know, around this old system, so we can it's not, we're not doing it, bro. So someone's still got to pay for the lights and stuff.
So most people, like you said, until that new system is set up, the current system remains and grows in a bad way, in a negative way, if left unchecked. So sitting around and doing nothing is not an option. That new system only comes into play when motherfuckers do that civil rights shit or that starting the country shit. You know, we're not going to pay taxation without representation. That's the only time when the system changes.
True, but come on, people are they're lazier than me.
I think it's fair. You know,
let's be realistic, bro.
I'm more trying to talk myself out of saying they're lazy. I'm catching myself saying all the time, I am certain it's fear now. And a little knowledge. Malcolm X said this shit, that he did this shit because once you learn these things, it removes the fear. And they all become warriors then in their way. Because I don't know, you might be an illustrator. Right, I don't know what you do, and you might decide to go after the inspector general. Fuck a cop. Now you're on my fucking team, but as long as we think them niggas off limits, they're too powerful. You can't do anything about them. They reign
I'm in the
freely.
seen and unseen, bro. You know, I'll leave it at that, man. Like this, like I said, like they call me Gabriel for a reason, bro. Like this is like people want to talk about God and all this shit, bro. Who's his messenger? I'm not saying I'm the messenger, but you know what I'm saying. It's like that's why I don't really deal with this in like I get it, and I'm glad you guys are passionate about it. You're getting me passionate about it because normally I don't really engage in this type of stuff. But I do support and respect what you do. I just don't like being called a slave and all this shit.
We know, you know,
because probably like there's definitely parts of my life where I am a slave to certain things that I don't like. But like I'm like, of all things to call me a slave for this and that before the cop watching, the cop stuff, the auditing. Come on, man. Like,
they don't have to.
But anyway, teachers.
Right, but think about even that dynamic, because I think it's very emblematic of what we're dealing with here, where people get more mad about someone calling us a slave than the fact that we're all enslaved to varying degrees.
Yeah,
true. Maybe that's the motivation I need, though.
It was, and it was.
As far as the taxation thing goes, right, we can always meet in the middle. Like, we could always be reasonable and meet in the middle, right? If you wanted to, you could just say, hey, we'll take 2 cents on every gallon and we'll use hundreds of millions of dollars that you generate every year to build the roads at little to no cost to the individual. That's a far cry from the trillions of dollars that are collected through income and revenue to go to Israel and Ukraine and black projects and to do Tuskegee on black folks and all the rest of it, man. Let's do the black shit now. We were doing that the other day. Let's go to how United States Corporation likes to do little experiments on black people and babies with all that money they collect for this supposedly for the roads, right?
Yeah. And
sorry, I'm not into it.
So much of that shit goes overseas and all of that bullshit. We got to prop up Argentina's economy and all of that shit. Hey, we got to get Israel and Ukraine more weapons to fight the great communist authority of whatever.
Gotta bomb a bunch of Middle Eastern countries now because they're scary and about to do something at any moment while we're on our 15th war in 10 years.
Motherfuckers, in Chicago, the winter's breaking potholes everywhere. Get on it, motherfucker. Stop that bomb and shit.
Super ego.
Super ego.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, all right, man. I appreciate you. I'm about to pimp off, man.
All right, yeah, I know you got to work. All right, love you, man.
I love you too, guys. I do, yeah.
All right,
I'll talk
Gabriel,
to you later.
blessings,
Thanks for
man.
coming up, Paul. Blessings, yeah. Machine Lies, peace, my brother. I'll talk to you guys. We'll end with a little El DeBarge via DJ Quick, bro. Yeah, I love you guys. I need to get some shit out. Peace. Throw it in the womb metaphor. Thanks, Monkella Shadow.
be okay. Cause I know I'm not. As a real nigga with feminine energy, I am not okay with the.